good morning, afternoon, evening, Free Enterprise fans all out there, all over the world. Thank you for joining us on this leg of this wonderful triple header day here for Free Enterprise. We're here on RPG Limit Break to see Eykir duel it out with xPankraz in game one of their round of 32 matchup. I am Demarine2, and I am joined this fine day by Solaris3. What's going on? How you feeling about this match?
Hey Demarine, I'm feeling quite good about this matchup today, this morning. Again, wherever you happen to be, we have two very strong runners facing up in one of our two, I believe, full matchups that we're going to get this week. Most of the matchups are somebody has a game advantage, but nobody has that here. So we are guaranteed two full matches of brackets with Eykir and Pankraz, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, so I'm going to give you four names real quick. You got Nightdew, Gambit 017, Dia, and Xenacat. What do these four runners have in common here? You're probably not going to know this.
I sure don't.
All four of those runners made the brackets, and they are the four losses taken by these two runners in the Swiss stages. They are both 0-2 against bracket participants and 4-0 against non-bracket participants. So to say that their road might have been a little bit easier getting here than most, well, I don't think that matters anymore. Someone's going to get some bracket wins, I guess, at this point in time. We're going to see, though.
That's incredible. I love that you knew that.
Welcome to Commentating with Me, where I look at the stat page beforehand and don't tell my co-commentator, because that's what I do.
I definitely looked before we came here about kind of some of the matchups, but that's sort of like piecing the puzzle together in a way that I really appreciate.
Yeah, xPankraz, of course, has been one of the more anticipated runners, I think, in this tournament. Everyone has expected him to make a big, deep run, and yet he really hasn't been tested yet overall. I mean, his results outside of the tournament have been pretty strong. Just sometimes you put the lights on him, and he is so under the lights. Eykir's been around for a long time, and we're hoping, there's a hope that he makes a breakthrough like maybe Flurry made last year with Zima Zone. Is this his tournament finally to make a big push to a top 4 finish? Who knows at this point in time? It'll be real interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Pankraz is a runner, and looks like we're starting up here. Pankraz is one of those runners out of tournament play is really strong, and I think kind of what happens here will really shape the rest of the brackets for either runner. But meanwhile, we start with not a very strong starting party. This is Yang and Dark Knight Cecil. And I believe that was a hook we started with. And I didn't quite catch that starting kit. What do we got in there?
There was a Gungnir Lance, which is kind of nice if we find Kane, obviously, is fourth best weapon. It's real solid, though. Gives him extra defense as well. I saw a Claw. I'm not sure if it was a Cat Claw, though. I don't think it was. I'm pretty sure Cat Claws might be added tier, but oh, it was a Fire Claw. Thank you, Nivari. And 28 grand in their back pocket, so a nice, meager savings to start.
This start is pretty rough. I wouldn't be surprised if Pankraz or Eykir look at the inventory immediately that Dark Knight Cecil could start with a Black Sword, which is shockingly good early game. Of course, in vanilla, it's the intended weapon you get after Fabul Defense that actually lets Dark Knight Cecil sort of contribute to the rest of his run before he becomes a paladin. And immediately we see some divergence. Pankraz immediately going to raise the hovercraft and probably look at the hook route, while Eykir is taking a look at what's in Baron.
Yeah, Eykir's gotten a Gaia Drum, which is great for sweeping up an early boss, casts a 600-ish damage Quake, and is just going to be kind of off to a good start here. Also found a Mute Knife here in Baron. It's in an early spot, which is an excellent pickup, and there's a Heroine Robe in the back, so gotta be feeling pretty good about that Baron loot. Maybe that thins out your looting, knowing that you've got that sort of power in hand here. Pankraz gives us a look at the Waterfall boss, finds Odin, and bails out.
That's a pretty incredible find for Baron. When we talk about these flag settings, the T-Pro setting for going into Baron in is not very kind. The number of tier 4 and below items that you get, I don't know the exact numbers, but it's pretty high, which a lot of them turn out to be 0 GP. So that paid out pretty well. And Pankraz finding the monster, actually, both our runners running into trap chests at the same time. But Pankraz finding that early in Cave Eblin will let him really loot the rest of this. Nice to see that early.
Yeah, it's real interesting. A lot of runners have been looting here in Eblin Castle as well in the early game. It's been kind of a meta decision for a handful of runners, trying to get that higher tier loot early on because this is a higher tier area because of the encounter chests. Um, Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. Like, there's a ninja sword, which is great if we get an edge, and a ninja shirt, which is also great if we get an edge. Dancing dagger was for sale here underground in Eblin, but Pankraz does not pick one up with his savings fund so far.
Yeah, the Eblin Castle and also the Watery Pass are two, and Pankraz finding a Poison Claw, surprisingly relevant for that party that we have going. But yeah, the kind of difference, the two common places I see looting are Eblin Castle and Watery Pass. Both are out of the way. Eblin Castle is more risky, takes a little bit longer to actually get through. There's 3 trap chests. If you run into all 3 of them, you could be looking at leaving at the 4-minute mark at the start of the seed, which is which is quite an investment. But yeah, it's been interesting kind of talking that out with different runners, how they feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, personally, when I was practicing these flags, it wasn't specifically my jam, but a lot of runners have gotten really heavily rewarded for this play, so it also sets you up later on for a quick dash in if you do want the encounter chest potentially. Because obviously, if you're going to be like, you've got a Cecil in your party, T-Pro greatly thins out your chance of getting your hands on a big stick, Crystal Sword, Excalibur. So maybe you come back here and try and roll these early chests for a big sword or a big piece of armor.
Pankraz getting perhaps the worst reward possible here, a duplicate character at the Eblin Cave spot. We do see a Dark Elf if this is a hook route. Dark Elf is at the Rubicon spot. Pretty easy boss overall, given that his transformation script loses the boss bit, so you can do all sorts of things to that boss once you transition. But finding that duplicate Dark Knight Cecil, we do not have duplicates available on this flag set. Rewarded with exactly 0 characters. Really, the loot and the shop is the reward here.
Yeah, it was a short shirt. We know sirens are in play here, so might be feeling okay about this dip, honestly. But it's always tough seeing a duplicate that early. I mean, in the Swiss stages, two Cecils was party time, right? Like, I got an Excalibur in one hand, I got a Crystal Sword in the other. I'm gonna go to town. That doesn't work here anymore.
No, not at all. But of course, coming to the hook route almost immediately, you can't blame any runner. I will not be surprised to see Eykir head here very shortly. You cannot leave Fusoya on the table. Fusoya just makes every character check incredibly important until you find that character. He is just that strong.
Or like you have a really, really solid comp like, Rosa Porum, Cecil, Kane Yang or something like that, and you don't really necessarily want to flex your party comp anymore and instead take power. Yang started with a Poison Claw to start, so double Poison Claw Yang is +6 strength, which is surprisingly relevant. There's also a Black Sword in the inventory for Pankraz, so going to gear up for our first boss check. Eykir still in loot mode here, about 6 minutes in, finding another Diamond Ring. Strength Ring is a nice pickup, will help that Yang damage curve early on as well. So might be feeling pretty good about the deep loot that he's done on this seed so far.
Yeah, finding the Poison Claw and Black Sword, those were both from Cave Eblin. Pretty good for him. And then finding Bahamut. Surprisingly free fight, but I get a feeling Pankraz will be able to do enough damage without really having to rely on a Star Veil, which might be nice considering the meager amount of money we started with here.
Yep, Star Veils costing 3 grand a piece is surprisingly relevant. We do give the runners 1 to 2 Star Veils in the starting kit, so they do get a little bit of that wonderful stuff in hand, but you don't always want to cash it out right away.
No, and I think Pankraz is going to have to cash out here. Yep, uses up a Star Veil. Bahamut's already down to 1 count. Cecil and Yang, while they do have good weapons, at base level just aren't really outputting a whole lot of damage. Oh, barely gets the kill. Still used up the Star Veil, but hey, that's all right. We get an Old Man Tella for our reward. How do you feel about Tella, Demarine?
I mean, I'm always excited about Tella in the mid game, honestly. On a hook route, you know that Dark Elf is down there for Pankraz, so like you're like thinking, man, I just go do ordeals and then I can weak the second half of Dark Elf easy game and move on with my life. But just need to get through the first fight, and Tella's really good for that because Tella knows Blink, Tella knows curative spells. it's a good scene all the way around, honestly.
Exactly. I love Tala for all those exact reasons. He's also the very relevant early game just for exit, being giving Pankraz the ability to deep loot the Mount Hobbs there. Not getting too much but J items for his trouble, but we'll also be able to just exit out of Outline. I love Tala. I really do.
Yeah, Tella's a character, like it's really wild to think about how characters have sort of fluctuated in terms of their usefulness throughout the history of for Enterprise. And Tella's one of those characters who just constantly goes up. Like, he's an agility anchor, he's got exit, he's got weak, he's got meteo, he's got the business. It's great. Eykir's not even messing around with damage racing this. Eykir's just like, look, I got 4 veils, I'll pop it. Like Yang is the only character who needs experience here, because he's the only one who's really gonna keep it anyway. So might as well just let my party explode.
Pankraz with that very good game knowledge, just throwing that Boreas he found right away at Kainatsu, weak to ice, dies immediately. Only gets a siren for his trouble, but hey, it's an extra siren. It's one you don't have to buy. Money's tight. Not a bad reward.
Not at all. You start with up to 2 sirens. Actually, the star veils are 3 to 5. I had to double check, but I apologize. But you start with 1 to 2 sirens, which lets you summon the rarest encounter in an area, which a lot of the time is a very high experience encounter. Thinking about like gold dragon eggs or yellow dragon eggs in the underground, or double gold dragons on Cape Bahamut floor 3. Just really, really good encounters to kind of be able to just conjure up at will.
Yeah, even on Mount Ordeals, the double Lilith fight is a surprising amount of experience. If I have a Palom and or a Yang start, it's one I'll think about. This team probably not so much, unless we run into a whole heck of a lot of trouble at Mount Ordeals. Given that Tala and Dark Knight Cecil don't really benefit from the levels, but yeah, still good to have.
Both runners grab a handful of Cure 2s here in Castle Fabul. Sylph was for sale. It's interesting, the one chest, the free life chest, which is known from the speed run in Antlion Caves, it's directly on your pass and has a life potion, normally had a Sylph summon, so no thought of buying it here for Pankraz, obviously, and Eykir doesn't feel like dropping his entire paycheck on it either, so makes sense.
I was gonna say, I don't think they even started with enough money to buy. I think it's like 30k, right?
Yeah, Eykir had like 31 grand coming in here with the kills so far. Also, we're 1 objective down.
Yep, we found the officers already. They are surprisingly it's like a good fit story-wise, the officer soldiers invading. It's just sort of like the one part of the 5. It's like 5 battles, right? The vanilla Fabul defense.
Yeah, normally it's the generals and fighters, but yeah, it's part that's yeah, I guess it's kind of related. I'll take that. But yeah, both runners take that down. It's just gonna be a bottle of wine here for both of our runners. Pankraz looking over that weapon shop and deciding again to kind of keep his pennies in his pocket as well. And not a lot of key items though popping out early here, so it's real interesting to kind of see that play out, as Pankraz is gonna head directly to Ordeals now to get his starter pack up and running.
Precisely 0. Both our runners wondering, where are the key items, game?
I know where they are. I don't.
Are they underground?
They're on the moon. They're always on the moon. Why would they not be on the moon?
All of them, every single one.
Yes. It'll be like 7 key items on the moon. It's fine.
Yeah, it'll be all the chains, right? Like the Baron key, the Tower key, the Luca key, all of them will be up there. Pan.
Look, I can dream, damn it. I can dream.
Pankraz finding a Thunderclaw. I believe it was Pankraz who found that. Surprisingly relevant with the Yang.
Eykir grabbing a Silk Web here, making sure that he's got that in his back pocket for the Zeromus fight at least, or maybe a bad hook fight. So nice to have, certainly. We've got some friends. Oh, and I guess Mylan at the top of Ordeals in slot 1.
Just a little bit of vanilla to start off the day, right?
I mean, as a treat, right? As a treat.
Who doesn't love ice cream?
I know lactose intolerant people who love ice cream because, it is ice cream.
Okay, so no joke, I am lactose intolerant and I will take a cup and put ice cream and then pour lactose-free milk into it because it has the lactase in it, and then kind of slur it up into a why do I want to say slushy? That's totally not the right word, but essentially it lets me enjoy ice cream.
I appreciate that so much. Ice cream, the official dessert of Free Enterprise? Question mark? I don't know. Pankraz, of course, quakes away the friends with the guy drum, and now is just fighting Myelin at this point with this party. Those lit ones, though, do a surprising amount of damage at this point. Eykir gets her Pale Dim at Baron in, so gonna try and pick up this Porum first. Gets a blue robe. What's the 50-50?
Oh, it's a water hag. That, I was gonna say, is a relief to see, but this water hag punches really hard at the spot.
Yeah, but as long as we can queue up an attack with Yang, the spot doesn't give any experience anyways, so as long as we can get the hits that we need to get in, it'll be fine. Which means Tella or Yang surviving a swing and we'll be A-okay.
Yeah. Now they did move to the back row. Yang could potentially miss, but it's pretty unlikely.
I mean, Strength Ring, 1 Poison Claws plus 8, so gets an extra multiplier, so should be fine. Yeah, easy game here. Pankraz does work through the fight here at the top of the mountain, is going to patch up the party with Tella. Going to probably change rows, put Tella in back, and then set up that's not really a key item, but hey, look, a pass.
Pass is always nice to see, and this is another free boss fight out of the pool. We've seen 3 in very quick succession with the officer, the water hag, and now the king and queen of why do I want to say Fabul? Edge's parents, whatever. These 2 will go through their script. That's their vanilla. The vanilla story for them is they go through their script and then they sort of come to awareness of what's become of them and sadly pass away. Ends up being a free fight.
Eykir gonna touch down here at Antlion Cave. We know that there's a siren down here, but is gonna start getting some experience on this Porum. Porum gets Cure 2 basically immediately on first complete fight, which is pretty great. Gonna put a Silent Staff on her, gonna put a Tiara on her, probably gonna put a Heroine Robe on her too, just to protect the investment in the White Mage. Not just a Rune Ring. Okay.
I honestly love Porum on this flag set quite a bit. Without starting with cure potions or life, well, you do start with 10 life potions, but you don't start with cure potions and you don't have any tents. Having a white mage at all, including Tella, to be able to cure your party early game is surprisingly relevant, and Porum is the only character who naturally could get Berserk on Mount Ordeals if you sort of go through all the other key item locations in the overworld first.
Yeah, the negative, of course, is that her HP growth is really kind of rough. So getting her up to speed is great and all, and she gets her spells in a timely fashion. Cure 3 is a little late, which is annoying. Cure 4 is very late, which is awful. But ultimately, the big thing that's kind of the worst is the HP curve.
Oh yeah, she is a huge liability late game. I mean, you pretty much have to. You're kind of stuck relying on nerfing Big Bangs at the very end if you're stuck with Porum as your only healer. Definitely has her weaknesses, but finding an evil wall in the mirror room on Mount Ordeal is pretty nice to find this here. This boss can be very rude at other locations. It's very punchy and likes to cheat the Q system and get more punches in than any other boss. And we did find a key item here, but it's just a pan, which is not... It's very nice to have once we get underground, but it is not additional progression.
Yeah, this also assures the hook route for both of our runners at this point. We know that the only other item for Pankraz is the pass at Baron Inn. We know that Eykir, all that he's got left is going to be this race up Ordeals to get this pan. And of course, with Cecil and Tella and second boss hunt on the table, there's no realistic way to skip this at this point. And a hook route where you might, find a random crystal sword or something in one of the 5 possible encounter chests you can locate at this point.
Yeah, I mean, a cheeky demist at either the waterfall or We saw Waterfall. It could be it's still in the Mist Cave. That check might happen first before actually heading to the hook route. Or, I mean, it could be at the Magus Sisters holding the Magma Key, but that's so unlikely. I'm not even going to wish that into the ether.
I haven't seen it happen yet, but you never know.
But while our runners are essentially crossing each other's paths, I do want to take a moment to shout out our Restream team. We have Neobari on Restream, making sure everything comes to your eyeballs in great crystal clarity. We have Alchemy doing the tracking, a job that I am always grateful for because it requires a lot of concentration. And I, of course, have the incomparable Demarine with me tonight for commentary. Make sure you give all these people a follow. They are amazing.
And of course, thank you to RPG Limit Break for being our partner yet again for another event. So of course, thank you for letting us use your channel and your space for another year. It of course means a whole lot to everybody, and you know we love putting on the Free Enterprise races for everyone. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are interested in Free Enterprise in general, you've been watching and you're not quite so sure, you know, how the game plays out, and you're like, oh, I'd like to try that myself, go to our website. It's ff4fe.com. There are a lot of flag sets that you could try out, many of them very beginner friendly. This is a flag set, or not a flag set, this is a randomizer I love particularly because it is very easy, I think, to pick up. Final Fantasy IV ultimately is a pretty simple game. It's really just a simple game of finding the key item to get you to the next location. So I think it is easy to learn, but very difficult to master. It has a high skill ceiling.
So Eykir are going to pick up 3 sirens and hourglasses and is headed down here probably for the character check before ordeals, just for leveling purposes, making sure that he can get that experience on the character that's down here.
Yeah, it makes sense. Not too interested in the loot at this point. Might want to save in the loot on the way back, but I get a feeling this is really just find the character and then exit out.
Yeah, get the knowledge in case it's a brutal second boss. But we know Kainaza's off the table, who's really kind of the worst of it. Is going to even reset out. Did a little bit of shopping, so knows that there's sirens and hourglasses here, and I guess we'll just come back and grab them later. So going to lose a little bit of time on menuing there on that reset rather than casting exit, but just resets right outside instead.
Yeah, I suppose I don't mind that too much. Ordeals could easily have more chains that lead into more things. Maybe you want to save your money a little bit. Maybe you find a magma key, but I mean, we of course know what's going to happen here. Pankraz is checking the Mist boss just before heading down the hook route. We'll see if somehow a D-Mist has found its way into a vanilla location. Nope, it's just a Leviathan. Hook route for us it is.
Yeah, that'll be real interesting. There's a Thunderclaw here on the mountain, which I guess is where Pankraz grabbed his. Eykir up against the wall with the menu boss here, just looking all the stuff in his inventory, going, man, I love stuff, but I can only carry 48 pieces of stuff at any time. What do I do?
And any shopkeep you go to on this flag set is like, oh, you got a crystal sword. I'll give you 0 for it.
You can't give me even 60k? How about 30k? Nope. I'll take 30k.
How about 0?
How about 0 indeed? Everything in this set is worth 0 in shops. It is the flag that is sort of the signature for this particular round in terms of our difficulty upgrade, is we took the shops and said, yo, everything, we don't buy anything.
And Pankraz doing what Demarine was referring to earlier with these trap chests. I noticed the purchase of sirens and hourglasses. I believe he bought some sirens. And exited right out and is now looking in Castle Eblin for the trap chest, looking for some sort of payout here.
Yeah, I mean, gonna probably the hourglasses are gonna be an expensive pop here at $6,000 a piece. You know, 3 here, and then you have one for ogres or something. But like, if you hit, Cecil's got 3 big hits out of these boxes, right? You hit an Avenger, you hit an Excalibur, you hit a Crystal Sword. 3 best weapons in the game. Cecil can use them all. And getting any one of those turns the hook route from, oh god, this is such a dicey proposition with no weapon on Cecil, to, look, I got Tella, I'ma Zerk up my boy and go to town.
Yeah, and for Very good loot distribution. This is, I believe, the best in the game for trap chests. I forget the exact distribution. It's something like 30, 30, 40 or 40, 30, 30 or something like that. That's tier 5, tier 6, and tier 7. It has the best chance, I believe, at tier 7 loot in the game.
Other than like Lunar Subterranea, but there's just some really like there's just a lot of weapon hits for Cecil here. Even like a defense sword's great, lightsaber's great. You know, like I'd even take an Ice Brand and be sad, but Ice Brand I think is tier 4, so you won't get one out of these boxes.
Dragoon Spear, very good if we find a cane. Opens up grind options. Is good against a number of bosses that surprisingly are dragons, unlike some that aren't, even though they look like dragons. Looking right at you, Bahamut. But no cannon party. That's kind of a womp.
Bahamut's not a dragon. Bahamut is a king.
But Dark Bahamut, which is the translated name for in most games or most versions of this game, which is Wyvern, is Dark Bahamut. That is a dragon.
Wyvern is not a dragon. Wyvern is a queen.
Just Final Fantasy IV things. A queen, but also a dragon queen, if you will.
The deep cuts here, everybody. The deepest. Not really.
I think I had a moment where I was doing comms and I learned that the D-Lunars, they are dragons, but they're not weak to the white spear. I actually forget the reason why, and it's just one of those things. It's like, yes, this game.
They are undead, but not weak to Holy Elemental. So Crystal Sword does quad damage and Excalibur does not. Just FF4 things, everybody.
It's honestly part of what I love about this game, though. There are so many things that you can learn, like just the the depth of knowledge, especially some things that aren't exactly intuitive that you could learn to sort of take advantage of. I find that really exciting. Speaking
of taking advantage here, you've got we have that Charm Claw. Normally pretty bad. It reduces your accuracy, but it gives you quad damage against giant type enemies. Ogres count. So just zerks up Yang, and Yang just plows through this chest after an hourglass throw, and gonna get a pile of experience on this party. Gonna get a Zeus Gauntlet, plus 10 strength, plus 10 stamina. Is real good.
That's a great find. That's 1, sometimes 2 additional multipliers, I believe, for the wearer of it, for the wearer's attacks. Yeah, real happy to see that. Even if we don't find a weapon, you slap that on Yang. Not really too bad.
Yeah, Yang gains damage power, by the way, from levels and from strength. Strength gives you, basically, it's called attack multipliers. Basically, you can't see it, but in the game, each fighter is hitting some number of times based on their strength and agility stats. But by giving more multipliers out, what ends up ultimately happening is that your party gets, your hitters get to hitting harder faster, which is a really big deal. All right, Eykir is going to clean up the mountain here, grabs that pan, is going to go ahead and take out the final boss of the mountain here. And then both our runners will be basically in the same spot. Eykir's already looted out Ebling Castle except for the encounter chests. So we'll see if Eykir decides just to reshop and dive, or if he's going to go ahead and play to just trying to get through these chests as well first for experience points.
It makes a lot of sense to me for Pankraz to be doing this because that Porum had no experience to speak of, and trying to get Porum towards Berserk or Blink would be very good. And our final item is just an elixir. It's a nice consumable, not really what you're looking for. The only major payoff in Castle Eblan for Trap Chest was that Zeus Gauntlet, which it's sort of like better than nothing.
Yeah, like you're not going to cough at a Zeus Gauntlet here. It does, again, it sort of softens up your experience curve a little bit. We know that Ice Brands are for sale in Fabul if you want one. Yeah, Ice Brand.
Pankraz certainly isn't interested. Just heading straight down that hook route. Might take the 4 Mad Ogres in the actual tower. Again, with that Charm Claw, they're pretty quick to take down. But also might just pass them up, given that he did Castle Eblan already.
Yeah, absolutely. Ice Brand, of course, for everybody, is a kind of mid-tier sword, but it's also like one of the most easily accessible decent damage swords in the game. Like, it's in early shops. It's usually available. You'll probably pop one in a treasure chest if you're at all lucky.
It would be certainly better than, I think. Is that Cecil just rocking fists right now? I don't think I saw a weapon.
There was no weapon on that Cecil yet. I mean, you look at Eykir. Eykir's rocking the mute knife right now. So the weapon situation for Cecil is, on a scale of 1 to dire, pretty darn dire.
But Cecil doesn't care. I mean, look at this. Even without a weapon, this character is so strong. He can just cover his two weak party members. That's the Paladin's ability, by the way, to cover party members that are in critical hit points, like Yang and Poromar at the moment. Will automatically take all physical hits for them, unless he guards, which is the thing I forget all the time. If he guards, then that cover ability's off.
Yep, Pankraz cashed out another Hourglass here for this fight. Eykir's going to stop here in Mysidia. It does see Starveils, but does not take any additional at this point. Maybe searching for a better Cecil weapon here, potentially. Dwarf Axe for back row glitching. Doesn't need it with bows, though. 15 grand's also kind of an investment. But the big thing with Cecil is that the weapon doesn't matter for covering. Cecil's got like an Aegis Shield, a Dragoon armor, like, is stacked with gear at this point.
Did you catch what that trap chest had? I missed it.
It sure had 10 more samurai arrows in it.
Oh, good. Oh, great. They're good arrows, but yeah, not quite what he was looking for.
Eykir is gonna scoot here and loot. Looks like gonna loot the encounter chests as well.
Yeah, unfortunately for Eykir, with the additional shopping that he's done, I think that's kind of putting him behind Pankraz here now. Pankraz, about to get into the King-Queen fight rather shortly here, is taking the time to loot. It makes sense. You've already seen the trap chest. The actual items here are, pretty good quality. Would like a weapon of any sort for Cecil. Even a poison axe would be perfectly acceptable here.
So how are you feeling though? If this is your composition for the hook route, the second boss is Dark Elf. How are you feeling right now as a runner if you were kind of up against this right now?
Pray that Tella does not turn into a pig.
That is a fair mood, I guess.
Almost any King-Queen boss, I mean, I hope I do not commentator's curse this. Any King-Queen boss, this is a very punchy spot. Cecil with the crystal armor and everything else. Okay, outline is pretty annoying.
Oh, but this is gonna be rough.
It's gonna be rough, but Cecil taking 8 damage per from an outline attack at this spot doesn't really care. Getting a blink off, additional protection for him. Yang can do the power punches, and Tella can cast tier 3 magical spells. It's actually, I think, going to be pretty easy for him.
Yeah, this is not looking so bad, honestly. Yeah, all that armor, like, back row Cecil with, like, 87,000 pieces of armor on is a pretty good scene to be in here. Gotta get through 6,000 health on Antlion, but not taking the counterattacks because power punch and spells don't pop the counter is pretty darn good, honestly.
Yeah, if I'm a runner here, I'm feeling great. I mean, Tella doesn't have the greatest MP pool, but 2k lit 3, and this might do 500 or 600 damage. No, 1,300. Tella might be wearing a couple pieces of wisdom boosting gear. 1 or 2 more power punches. This is done. And then from what I was referencing earlier, if the Dark Elf turns Tella into a pig, and we don't have a way to undo that, pigs cannot cast spells that will make trying to do something like weak against Dark Elf kind of annoying. If Pankraz has another Hourglass in his back pocket, which I suspect he does, you can just use that against the Dark Dragon form, so...
Looks like he's all run out, but... I mean, again, you can potentially just cast weak with... You can just cast weak with Tella here, and it's fine. Also, this Fire 2 is going to hit for, like, numbers. And by numbers, I mean, like, we'll see maybe some 7s.
5. I think 20 was the highest. The spell must be scripted to do no damage at like all spots. Same with the King Queen. Because sometimes, I mean, this spot, the spell power is not very high, but some spots a Fire 2 will do a surprising amount of damage. Whisper missing, that's quite nice. Nobody turned into a pig today.
Yeah,
At least at the moment.
Pre-channeling the life 2 on Yang as well, because Yang is going to die to this. But fight this fight at like a spot that has magic damage, like second spot in Tower of Zot, and you will see your party get absolutely smoked by a Dark Elf. It's hilarious. Eykir going for size strats on the Mad Ogre box here, and then going to use Cecil and that Mute Knife to get through this fight. So going to get some extra experience here, like we mentioned before. But Pankraz is having a pretty good time here, except Tella got turned into a pig.
Yeah, there's the pig Tella, and so now that I'm watching this fight play out, here's my primary problem with it. Without being able to Zerk somebody, which I'm not sure that Porum has the ability to Zerk, at battle speed 1, the sheer speed that Dark Elf is able to cycle through this script is rather terrifying.
So can Zerk Yang at least, but also with Tella knows heal, Cecil knows heal at this point, because Cecil's got a pile of levels.
Yeah, Cecil knowing heal is actually really quite big. Able to turn that Tella back into not a pig. Looks like we might be kind of in this nasty cycle here for a bit. It will be a bit slow with the Dark Elf going through all of these scripts constantly, but it's not dangerous at least.
Yeah, trying to use Berserk and Blink to keep this Yang alive here and make sure that Tella is depigged at the right time for the week at the end of the fight. Yang is hitting pretty hard right now with that Zeus Gauntlet and Claws. It's, solid 1,000-point punches right now. Ken has to queue up another heal on Tella because Dark Elf knows what's up.
That Dark Elf's chain piggied that Tella non-stop.
Dark Elf's like, yo, I know I lose the boss bit. You're going to weak me. I don't want that. I don't want to lose 10,000 health in one spell. That's bad.
No, he's like, I'm going to do that. That's my spell, not yours.
Yeah, Eykir showing the tough part of going through this set of fights without the hourglasses, right? These are surprisingly hard-hitting encounters for not being super healthy.
They're not just hard hitting, some of them are very annoying. This fight in particular, the Lamia and Black Cats both have very annoying counters. The Black Cats will counter with, I forget the name of it, but it's basically instant death. I've never seen it miss, personally. And the Lamia will counter with a charm, which can lead to hilarious results. Charming one of your party members will turn them against your team. If it targets a spellcasting member, they usually just cast like Sight, and it's funny but does nothing. But yep, Cecil getting charmed there. We'll see what he does. Most likely just cast a useless spell, but it's still a party member that you don't have access to, and he's not covering anybody right now either. But meanwhile, Pankraz getting through the Dark Elf, easy peasy. Underground access secured.
Yeah, just shy of 36 minutes with a full Eblan Castle clear and every encounter chest belted for him as well. So Pankraz, who, again, runs real well offline or at least in non-tournament events, has been crushing this seed so far. Just no doubt, no overlooting, no concerns about what's going on around him. He's just like, yo, I got this. I'm going in. Successfully goes in and just drives through to the underground. No problem. 35-40 kill on that Dark Elf.
Yeah, no hesitancy. And let's not understate how difficult a task that is for these runners. This game, when you're speed running it, essentially, you have to make split decisions at so many points about the boss fights you're taking, what you're doing in the future, what your routing is. And to be able to do that and to just make no mistakes, so far anyways, and do it so efficiently, it's not an easy task.
I think the thing that maybe other runners can take from this particular run through the overworld for Pankraz is that he had hourglasses for sale early. They're 6,000 gold a piece, which can be an investment in the early game. Like, that's a kind of a go for broke play a lot of the time, but yo, spend that cash. If you know that you're going to do encounter chests, just buy five hourglasses, right? You'll get the money back later. It's fine, right? Money is not for hoarding. Money is for spending.
Yeah, it could be pretty scary to spend the meager 28,000 that you start with, but Dwarf Castle alone rewards, I think, 20,000 at the end of those 2 encounters. And I mean, just the boss fights in general, slowly over time, you will get that money back. And depending on the situation, what happens, you might not need to buy that many sirens at the end of the day. But meanwhile, Pankraz, smacking Yang upside the head with that pan, finds a Luca key for his trouble. It's another chain. We'll see where he wants to go from here. There's a lot of the underground to see. Gonna head straight down the Fame Arch. That is 1 key item check and 2 Fame Arch bosses to see.
Yeah, Luca key is just our 3rd key item of the seed as well. We've got Eykir just trying to work through the Staleman chest here. Staleman skull. The skulls are down to some telespells, and now it's just up to, I guess it'll be telecasting Ice 2 to finish off the Ice Week Staleman.
Yeah, Staleman, another very annoying encounter to deal with. Their punches can randomly put your party members to sleep, and there's not a lot that can wake them up.
Second freebie is a 2nd key. Literally, it's the Baron key this time, so 2 keys for the key ring back to back.
But not the key to my heart.
We'll talk about that later.
Pankraz checking the armor and maybe the weapon shop here. Would love any sort of an upgrade. Didn't quite see what he has for spending cash at the moment, but about 12,000. Finds a cat claw.
Like, I would like to buy this, please. And the game is like, LOL, no.
No.
Eykir remembering to get this last boss check in before heading deeper into the seed at the time, but Golbez is fairly free at this point. Dancing Doll's doable, but tough. Pankraz wants no part of this in no uncertain terms and just pops the X spell. He is out of there, and he's going to keep on progressing.
Yeah, the dolls are doable and free if you have something like an hourglass, but maybe a bit slow. No real AoE on this party at the moment. Golbez also rather free, but it is a time investment, and I can see him just saying, nah, I'll just deal with both these later.
Yeah, Pankraz is also a little bit light on hourglasses as well. That's kind of the negative of having bought a bunch of them and then burning them off in Eblan Castle, is that he has none in his inventory to very quickly just mop up those dolls with.
Yeah, definitely. And in chat referencing that Yang does have AoE in that kick. Kick does have some surprising uses. I have used kick to great effect in an early alt gauntlet encounter, where kick does a good amount of damage there, but not really enough for the dolls.
Yep, gonna go with the Cecil covering Telestrat to get through this box at this point in time and probably cast Ice 3 or Weak. That works too. Just to force through this fight. Pankraz gets to see a Lunar Sparkle for his first fight in Dwarf Castle.
Eykir needs to hope for a good piece of loot here. He is, by taking these encounters, so Pankraz finding the D-Lunars, somewhat annoying. This boss fight, frogs, first of all, are a thing. Second of all, don't physically attack them. They will counter with reflecting on themselves, or casting a wall on themselves, and then bouncing viruses, which is very painful at most locations, including this one. Yang with the Fire Claw will do quite a bit of damage, though. Actually going to make this probably quite free.
Power is such a cool command because it also doesn't net the counters. The other tough thing that you do have to be aware of on this particular fight, though, is that once you get down to 1D Lunar, they will start off with just casting the fire enemy ability, which casts an AoE damage that does 20% of your health per hit. By the way, Eykir did get a Holy Sword. That was a lightsaber in that box.
Not the Holy Sword you wanted, but you know what? It's so much better than literally nothing. So much better than nothing. And yeah, Pankraz showing exactly how you want to get through that encounter. Focus fire on one of the D-Lunars and then on the other, since no good AoE available, and then just finish off one and then the other, so you don't have to deal with those constant fire counters.
This could be our other boss objective. We could be out of boss hunts.
No, it's the quarter leg for now. This is the elements fight.
So that Fire Claw, by the way, does quad damage to this form once the Mylan form takes its first action. Pankraz showing off what quad damage this particular spot can do. It only has a couple thousand hit points to work through, and how the hit points split up on that particular fight. Any hit over like 1500 will just end the fight there. So Yang just, well, throws the Mylan and friends into the ravine forever. Goodbye.
Yang is the star of this seed so far, and I am loving it.
Yep, if you've got elemental claws and you know how to roll them and you're just switching between them in combat when you need them for specific situations, with some strength gear, Yang can be an absolute weapon in the early game and mid game.
Luca wearing the Leviathan summon around her neck tonight. Not quite what we were looking for.
But it's adorable.
It's adorable, and I love Leviathan, but we have no use for it. And again, the shops. You're like, I have this gently used Leviathan. Can you please give me some money from it? And it's like, no. No. But that's all right. Sheila's gonna bail us out. We've got the second half of actually both halves of the Yang and Sheila subquest to go through here. Sheila giving one key item for realizing her husband is underground, and another key item for returning the pan to her.
And we are desperate for key items still. I mean, two great bosses to see down in the land of summon monsters, but you know, you got to get these freebies out of the way. Like, you want a chain, like you've got the Baron key. Another overworld chain would not go amiss here. Earth Crystal, of course, would be fantastic. Harp is required. You know, Rat Tail is good here. You're already on above ground. You can go turn that in real quick. Like, even like Sand Ruby, we don't know what the Sand Ruby character is, but you know, it could be good. It could be Foo in the bed. You never know.
Darkness would be the most terrifying for me here, and it's more arrows and a pink tail. Pink tail, 1, objective, 2, chance at a crystal sword. Or an Excalibur.
Or an Avenger. All of them are tier 7, interestingly enough, because they are the 3 best weapons in the game by far. And Pankraz with, like, literally 0 weapons for Cecil right now, likely to just go do that.
Yeah, a lot of hope resting on the single rat tail, or pink rat tail, I suppose. Or is it a pink? I've never actually thought about this. What is it the tail of? Is it another rat?
It's a rare pig that only spawns on the moon every 28th day. But the lunar cycle is in such a way that the days are much, much longer.
Rewarded with Edge's best weapon without an Edge currently in the seed. This is a running theme at the moment. Hey, here's a great piece of gear that you cannot use. Enjoy!
As Pankraz has got to be like, I got a ninja sword, I got a Masamune, I've got a ninja shirt. Yo, where's my Edge at? Is he in Baron Castle? I gotta go find out. Eykir working through this last chest. Again, just getting a little bit more experience before this hook route. We'll see how he decides to take on the Antlion with this party. It is a likely Zerk Cecil and just go and try to just go ham sitch here, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, the trouble here for Eykir is that taking the time on these encounters without burning the hourglasses like Pankraz did, yeah, the encounters aren't really very difficult. Like, he was able to get through them, but even just not having to deal with spending the time on the enemy's actions and random errant things like falling asleep or being charmed, really kind of putting Eykir behind here.
Yeah, just bleeding time away in not so subtle ways either. Just like, Hourglass does not just stop the enemies from hitting you, which of course is bad, but it also, since it completely stops their actions, it just means that fewer actions are occurring in fights, which is just better for you as the player for going fast. Again, does it require some cash? Absolutely. Gotta spend that cash though. It's important.
All right, time to find out what this Bygone Spot Lunar Sparkle is. Is it Wyvern?
It's
It
Wyvern!
is. Blarg time.
See, Tella's in the middle. We're gonna get Star Veil off really easy. This is gonna be totally free. We're gonna have 2 Star Veils. We're real good at this game.
The number of times I've seen Pankraz get the triple Star Veil off against Wyvern is kind of astounding. Of course, if you're good at run buffering, Wyvern is essentially free at many spots. Otherwise, at Battle Speed 1, you do have to run buffer it. If you don't, pretty likely to just get your team blocked. But yeah, Pankraz shows his expertise there, gets there pretty easily.
Also, Tella's already anchoring the middle, so he's already got the slow anchor for getting through a fight like that as well. So he's all set to just sort of push through without too much concern. Well, that's not Rubicon. That's Dr. Cutscenes.
Yep, Dr. Dialogue. This is our boss that is split 4 ways in health. There's Dr. Luge, there's Balnob, there's Balnob Z, I believe it's his name. If you defeat Balnob here, Luge will kind of operate him manually, and then there's Luge's rather terrifying form at the very end of this. However, not very difficult at most locations, mostly just talks and then falls over.
Yeah, his most frightening move is he does a laser that does damage based on his current health. But the thing is that health pool is already greatly reduced, and usually by the time you're fighting the luggage, you're already super powerful, so it usually feels pretty good.
Yeah, here's the rare Dr. Luge gonna operate Balnob himself, but I believe this form also has the machine weakness, so oh, maybe not actually. We'll still fall pretty quickly. Yep.
The big thing with this form is you can see Pankraz is just looking for high impact abilities at this point. That was the highest impact ability you could have. Just crushes it in one shot. If you just use regular attacks on it or just any ability, it will counter with gas, which can sleep your party members, which is a pain in the tail. You want a 5th party member? Here you go. Guess it's Sid.
I mean, I guess. Getting the robot.
I don't know if Sid would get in the robot. Sid would probably hit the robot with a hammer, let's be real.
Yeah. I mean, he probably built the robot. That's fair. No, but actually, really the best part of getting through that final Luge form so quickly is, one, he talks a heckin' lot before he turns into his actual form, but 2, he poisons your party. No poison lock for us tonight. I think everyone's ears are thankful.
So do you think that like we could be in the situation where you could have like Sid with the goggles looking down on Cecil going, "Hey Cecil, get in the robot"?
Absolutely, with Cecil being like, "I don't wanna." Finding a sand ruby, that I don't believe either runner checked which this character is, but we could have someone that's not these current party members. There are a lot of upgrades available. I believe that's a Palom.
Yeah, not gonna take Palom. Already sort of agility anchored. Already has Tella for handling black magic. This is a pretty bruisery party. You want to have the Zerg cast, so I like that call certainly. I think it makes sense. There's an argument for taking Palom. Makes your moon push a lot easier once you've got some levels. So good arguments in both directions certainly.
I think normally I like letting go of Palom because, again, if you get him early and you get experience on him, Virus and Quake take care of the early game, but we're kind of past that point already. But my only consideration for Palom at the moment is just relative party strength is rather weak. We have utility from Tella, we have no weapon in Cecil, and we have Yang, who is certainly the star right now.
Well, we do have, and for Eykir, though, we do have Lightsaber Go Burr.
Yep.
Dark Elf is wholly weak and with weapons, but can't cast White on it for some reason. But Cecil's just going to do some work here. We've got the dual guards here. Trying to set up cover strats for this. Mutes them with the mute bells so these counter spells don't go through because they lave status effects which kind of ruin your party. And is going to try and beam them with Telestone to just finish them off instantly.
Yeah, this is another encounter you'd wish you have hourglasses for, but, you know, Tella just being like, hitting that spell real easy in the middle spot. Stone can miss, and it's happened to me numerous times, but gets through that very quickly. And gets just a heroin robe for his trouble. Where are the key items?
I know where the key items are.
They're on the moon.
They're definitely on the moon.
Absolutely. Golbez
is gonna give us a darkness crystal and say, hey, yo, can you go get my key items off the moon?
And all our runners will be able to just be like, okay, fine. But Pankraz is going to go look down the sealed cave. I like this check quite a bit. It can be one of the lengthier ones, but it's a check where you get to see the key item up front, and then you can check the boss. And if you don't like either, you can just reset right out of it.
Yeah, if there's one statistic, one piece of information that you should take from this race, everybody, that if you're watching, if you're here, you're watching, I'm, you know, obviously, or if you're watching us on YouTube after the fact or on Twitch after the fact, hi. Pankraz was through the Dark Elf fight at 35 minutes and 40 seconds. It took Eykir all the way up until 52:50. Early games are so important in free enterprise. It's hard to make up big gaps without getting very lucky.
Absolutely. The early game really is an accelerant if you think about it. If you go through the early checks faster, then you start leveling faster, you start finding better loot faster, better characters faster, and then, you know, Pankraz's lead is very significant now, and it's really just accelerating at this point. If Pankraz had found really anything like a better weapon or a Fusoya or an edge, you'd see it accelerate even further.
Yeah, but none of that has popped out. There's just a spoon down here, which would be our key item number 7. But we do have to check the boss, so Pankraz very wisely does not quite hit the reset button yet. May reset out of this because Spoon doesn't do anything in these other than be an edge dart in these flags.
Just the Dark Imps. It's another free fight out of the way. They're kind of rude there just because it's a very fast spot, but another encounter that doesn't have the boss bit, very easy to deal with, but really no reason to do it. I think it's either top of tower or Feymarch time, and Pankraz is choosing Feymarch. I don't blame him. I believe top of tower was a Val, is that right?
It sure was a Val that's going to be not a great fight, honestly, all things considered. So Pankraz not terribly interested, but did see, again, Golbez pretty free down here, and Dancing Doll's also great.
Yeah, both of these encounters are very doable by this party. Golbez, you just set up. Golbez has a very long script, likes to laugh. That's why we call him, you know, the ha 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 man. But all you really need to do for that encounter is set up any number of statuses you can put on your party. This game uses like status effect priority system, where you can inflict multiple status effects at once. The breath weapon from the D-Lunars is an example of this, where you kind of get hit with all of them at once, but trying to do 2 statuses one after the other, there's a priority system, and what you can do against Golbez essentially is cast a number of spells, Mute or Venom in battle, or Piggy or Mini before battle, and then Golbez in his script, his dragon will try to paralyze your party down and won't be able to because of the status already on your party, and then all he does is cast spells, so they would just cast a wall or use Star Veils at that point, and then Golbez, pretty easy to take down at that point. But we see the dolls here are first. Cecil's doing his thing covering. Pankraz still doesn't have a weapon on Cecil, but it really doesn't matter. He's doing a fantastic job just being a cover bot for this team. It is a little tricky without an hourglass, but there's the toad. It goes off. Makes toads of 3 of the 6 dolls. 3 of them do not have the boss bit. It's the back dolls. This encounter, if you kill all of either color of doll, turns into a big doll called Calbrena. That doll's very annoying. It has a ton of health, and it will start charming repeatedly members of your party. But when the frogs, if you kill all the front dolls, The frogs will say they turn into Calbrina, but they actually won't do anything. So without having access to good AoE magic, it's a very good way to get through this fight. It will take some time, but it's essentially free.
Yeah, but just, again, using the power of Cecil, only healed up Cecil before the fight, so just flexing that cover muscle again and again and again, it's really cool to watch.
Gotta use the tools that are given to you, and this seed really has not given a lot of them, but if you utilize the couple of tools it's given you, you'll be in great shape. Meanwhile, Eykir is through that hook route finally, has been able to do some underground stuff, heading now to Dwarf Castle. Will get his reward from that spot. Still has a lot of ground to cover though. I think Eykir needs to hope for a Darkness Crystal at the Fame Arch and needs to go there very soon, and then needs to turn this into a top-down versus bottom-up situation where he chooses correctly and Pankraz doesn't, because Eykir really is quite behind. But yeah, we see the frogs here. They're like, turned into Calbrina, but not really. And while our runners are going through this fight, I want to give another shout out to our Restream team and to RPG Limit Break. Thank you so much, RPG Limit Break, for allowing us for hosting us on your channel for another tournament season. We're always appreciative. And thank you to Neobari on Restream, Alchemy doing the tracking, and Demarine doing comms with me. Pankraz getting through the dolls. It's a little bit slow, but it will be slow for Eykir also. The tools given to us for AoE, not so much. Maybe that Palm if you take him and get him Quake, but that takes some time, and just getting an Earth Ham is trouble. That is actually a weapon that Sid can use, but getting that rare text, the Inspector Gadget reference. I've actually not seen that before. That was quite funny. I'll get you next time. But gonna take up a rest here. Probably going to inflict statuses on his party. Has to take on that Golbez next and hope for some sort of progression, because if it's not here, it has to be at the top of tower. Or it's a Demist hiding somewhere. Demist could really only be hiding at the Magus Sisters spot on Zot. That would be very hilarious for us and pretty rude for our runners, since that check was available at the start of the game. Pankraz not even going to bother to do a status effect here. We'll let his party get paralyzed. I believe one of them might have... I'm trying to remember if I saw a ribbon. If one of them has that, I believe... Or... Well, there are a number of pieces of gear that Pankraz's party could have that could protect against instant death, for instance. The magic damage here is also not very high. Might be thinking that a lot of his party members could just straight up survive Golbez's spells. Yeah, Yang survives here. Probably can survive a tier 2 spell or a virus. Lit 3 is pretty strong, even without a whole lot of magic power. This is vanilla Leviathan spot, and all Leviathan does is cast Wave and Ice 2, and the Ice 2s aren't very strong, so... Barely survives that virus. Barely survives it, but with Poor I'm able to get up a wall now. And good targeting from Golbez. We're in really good shape here. Golbez continuing to be kind. Here's a Berserk onto Yang. If Yang is wearing that Fire Claw, Golbez is weak to both Fire and Holy. Yang continuing to be the all-star of this seed. Yeah, there's some 2k punches. So long as Yang doesn't take the punch now, a wall is going to get cast from Tella onto Yang, and this fight will be over rather shortly. Eykir, meanwhile, interested in some experience. You might be wondering why we've landed on this very tiny strip of 3 tiles. It's because with a Siren, you can get one of our great grind options. This is the Gold Dragon Egg. As an egg, it does absolutely nothing. One swing from a Berserked Lightsword Cecil will probably clean it up. If not, 2 swings will do it. The actual dragon could be pretty rude, but it only has about 1,800 hit points, so pretty easy to take down. Really good for grinding. xPankraz continuing to literally punch his way through this Golbez fight. It is essentially won. The spot just has a lot of health. It has about 45,000. Yep, there's a script that shows the end of that fight. And what is our reward? We need some sort of progression. Anything. A tower key, a rat tail. Wow, just an apple. Top of tower it is. Resets right out of that. Don't blame him. It's okay. It's pretty decent experience, but resetting just saves time. You don't have to do rest up again. Yep, xPankraz headed straight to the tower. Gonna have to deal with the Valvalis at the top of Lower Babel. And my apologies, folks. My co-commentator has had to step away from the mic for a moment, but we'll kind of get that situation taken care of pretty quickly. In the meanwhile, xPankraz is going to take on this Valvalis fight. It can be rather rude. The main problem with Valvalis later in the game, her defense in her tornado, her defense in her tornado form from physical attacks is mostly overcome by the multipliers and physical power we have at this point, but she still cycles through weak and stone, and casting weak against your damage dealer, it can still make the fight dicey, but with a couple of blinks, 2 white mage casters, I don't think he'll find any trouble here. Eykir about to get the bad news at what Golbez has in store for him. The fight is a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but this fight does take your party down to 2 party members, because that's essentially what he does in his vanilla location. So having Gang and Cecil up, I am a bit worried about not having health on both of our bruisers here. We'll need to probably run buffer to get a Star Veil off in time to not lose to a 50-50, which is really what he's facing down at the moment. Yep, there's the virus, targets on Cecil. Oh, loses the 50-50, gonna hit again. Has to reset this fight. Probably just heal up. Maybe do one of those stat effects I was talking about, turning your team into pigs. But taking a moment to just think about what he wants to do here. Yeah, Eykir's off it, gonna exit, gonna head out, might head to top of tower himself, or turn in the pan if he has not done that yet. I'm not quite sure if he's gone through that yet or not. Looks like he has, and he's already swapped airships. Okay, headed over to Baron for Eykir. Meanwhile, this Valvalis, I see the blinks up. Some of the party is turning slowly to stone, but really not too much of a worry here. It's just it's a slow encounter. The damage doesn't do it, we're not able to do a whole lot of damage. Kind of have to manage these stones because eventually your party will turn to stone, and stoned party members are unable to contribute and are not targetable anymore. They're essentially considered dead. Again, using heal from Cecil, something I often don't think about doing. Really pretty useful here. Also, Pankraz showing off his knowledge. Valvalis is immune to magic in tornado form in most locations in the game, but there are a few that she's not, and Top of Lower Babel is one of them. Valvalis still has incredible magic defense here, so most spells won't do a lot of damage. I don't know if this is one of those spots. It could be where there's a couple where she actually doesn't have any magic defense at all. This might be one of them, considering Tella did a full 2,000 damage with that tier 3 spell. Another one I know of is Cave Bahamut. Surprisingly, you can target her there with magic. Most of the other moon spots you cannot.
Hello, it is I, Alchemy, the tracker, who is kind of helping out because Demery had to step away from the microphone. Hello, Soraros. It's nice.
Hi, Alchemy.
But that's not what you say. I know you. You're very nice.
I'm so excited to be here with you. Yeah, we're sorry to see Demarine go for a moment. Hope everything is okay there. Things will work out just fine, I am sure. But in the meanwhile, thank you so much for joining me here. I missed. Did you see what that Valvalis had?
No, I stopped in the tracker room. Remember?
Hopefully chat can bail us out here, or maybe I can go back and look at the VOD. You went through it very fast. I hope it is a progression of any sort, because he very desperately needs it.
That was a joke. I'm still paying attention. Elven Bow. Thank you.
Chat is saying Elven Bow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Are we on a Demonist hunt? I think we're on a Demonist hunt here.
I know all the key items are on the moon, but come on. Cut us some slack. Sheesh.
I mean, not only are the key items hidden on the moon, but they're blocked by a Demist at the Maga Sister spot. I think that's what's going to happen here.
I mean, what other spots is left?
We've already seen the waterfall. We've already seen the Mist Cave. We've already seen, I believe, every location available to us. We've been to Baron. We've been to the Sealed Cave. We've been through the Hook Route. We've had the Panchuk, and the Pink Tail, which was a piece of ninja gear, is not progression. We have the pass. That's our way to Zeromus, but there are 2 more objectives to get through, and we don't have the Adamant or the Legend Sword.
So, I think it's very likely that Demis is hiding on Sod.
Yeah, I believe that's the only spot that Demis could logically be at this point.
That's bonkers.
Yeah, it's definitely unusual. Now, I have personally experienced a good number of very rude Swiss and bracket seeds that make you do a lot of the game or funnel you through very long key item chains. And this one may be very similar to that. I think the most hilarious thing that this Demus could have is the Earth Crystal itself. That would require going to Zot, coming back. Let's see where Pankraz is going, though. I think he wants the hovercraft, probably wants to pick up some sirens, get some experience on that Palom he just picked up. Knows that there are really no better characters available at this point, and that Demist has to lead to either the Tower Key, the Rat Tail, or the Moon. Actually, or the Twin Harp.
Chat confirming that, well, not confirming, but stating that it was in fact Darkness Crystal. I guess we'll see. Sorry again for the commentary tracking hiccup. But life happens. So thanks a lot for like being kind and paying attention. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much, chat. We absolutely appreciate it. If that was Darkness Crystal, then yeah, Pankraz is just setting up to do his grind, taking the Quake Kid. Again, unless a very good character is up on the moon, maybe a Rosa or a Kain or an Edge or a Fusoya, any of those would kind of be upgrades. Probably would get rid of that Sid if he hasn't already. But without a great many options, really Palom is still very useful. So it makes a lot of sense to pick him up before heading to the moon here.
So that's absolutely a relief that we don't have to go to Sod. But still, oof, that moon, most free bosses were on the overworld, so that's a little scary.
Yeah, I'm a little sad. I guess our memes are going to continue to be dreams for the moment. But how do you feel about this moon dive at the moment if you're one of these runners?
I feel scared, to be honest. Like, this party is pretty decent, but it's not the best party. We don't have the best equipment. Cecil doesn't have an amazing weapon. It's absolutely doable, but you find something nasty at like Pogo and you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, absolutely. And my thought particularly is that we've seen a number of the free bosses already out of the pool. We might have even seen all of them, to be honest. We've seen Dark Imps, we've seen the Baron Soldiers, we've seen the Baron Guards, we've seen Water Hag. I can't even think of what would be left there. There are a lot of rude bosses left on this moon.
King Queen Evelyn was also...
King Queen Evelyn was also found, yeah. That was at the back attack spot on Ordeals.
I think that's all of them. Oh.
So yeah, meanwhile, Eykir continuing to get the bad news that there's no progression to be found on this earth.
So yeah, now you could find like a nasty Dark Knight Cecil or a nasty Odin, just about anything.
And unfortunately, finding Rydia, personally my favorite character out of this game, she's not very good. I'm sorry, especially in this flag set, y'all. Her EXP growth is really stunted. It takes forever for her to get any relevant spells. There is no slingshot EXP available on this flag set, so normally there's sort of a catch-up mechanic available where your lowest level party member gets double the experience until they're within 10 levels of your party, essentially. She's a black mage, but she's a worse Palom, essentially, and we already have Palom, so really, this is our endgame party, I think.
Usually you want to see Rydia early game with a Sylph, Behemoth, Leviathan. She can pretty much carry you through more than half the seed, even more. Because as I always say, a seed is more than a seed is way more than just like Zeromas. It's the whole progression. But when you find her this late, you don't take her for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And we see Pankraz here popping a Siren, taking on the double King Ryu fight. These dragons, so funny enough, that back dragon has actually a lot of physical defense. They normally don't. Enemies in this game normally have 0 physical defense, but for whatever reason, these two dragons in particular, the back one gets quite a bit of defense. We see it only taking 1 damage, even though it was weaked. Weak turning the enemy's HP into single digit. But essentially this fight is worth a crap ton of experience, and it's actually worth a lot of money as well, though the money at this point probably not super relevant. And we see Tella being knocked down here. Don't really want him to gain any more levels. Keep him as a lower agility anchor. I believe he's wearing the Sork robe, so it's taking the team a little bit of time to to finish the job.
Big fan of like Porum just like bonking Tella for like 3 HP. Wow, 18 levels. Palom is online.
Yeah, Palom is up to Quake. If we have even a decent amount of gear available for him, like what the Tella's wearing essentially, that can move over to Palom. But no, we're gonna pop another Siren. Our party, the strength of our party is pretty weak at the moment. for Pankraz here. The two party members that are most relevant are the Palom he just picked up and the Yang, and both of them benefit mostly from levels over anything else. So it makes sense to me to take on a couple of these King Ryus. Even though we don't have 10 key items, 10 key items would enable double experience essentially at this point, but it's a luxury we don't have, and there are a lot of moon spots to get through that probably hold a lot of key items.
At this point, if you're Pankraz, I mean, in my case, I will be like begging the game to give me a weapon for Cecil at some point. Like, I don't care what it is. I could even take a good bow. Just give me something.
Yeah, Mute Dagger's really not it. But, you know, it's kind of funny. Even without a weapon, Pankraz is showing what a star Cecil is as a character. So many boss fights handled beautifully just with cover strats. But with that King Ryu out of the way, Palom has his tier 3 spells. Looks like Pankraz is going to continue to pop Sirens. He might be interested in getting to endgame levels at this point. Just says, you know what, heck it. I want to get through this moon as fast as possible. I don't want to deal with any potential root boss, and there are so many available here. I'm just going to get much closer to Z than I normally would. Just try not to have trouble.
I keep getting his in rope and does not reset that out of the fight. Instead of opting to keep it.
Yeah, Heroine Robe, it's a nice early game piece of gear, but I believe Eykir already has a Heroine Robe. Looks like he just wants to keep the experience. Keeping the experience from that spot can be pretty good. Just when you're trying to kind of scrap for any experience that you can on this party that really wants the experience.
Oh, shoot. No.
And to answer a question in chat, correct, we have not seen the Alt Gauntlet left. The Alt Gauntlet on the moon, there are many spots that are very, very rude. It is a grind in a box, but it's also not guaranteed to be there. Be here up on the moon either. It could still be on the giant. It could be behind the package, hilariously enough. It could be in the cannon room. It could be behind the twin harp. A lot of places that boss encounter could be. It could also not be appearing in this seed. I believe there's one boss out of the pool that is sort of taken out because it's normally what would be the Water Hag vanilla encounter. We don't have that encounter in this randomizer.
I mean, going to Kaipo already takes so much time. Imagine if you had to do a boss fight. Sheesh.
Yeah, if you just had to do a boss fight for stepping into Kaipo, nobody would go there.
And already no one goes there unless they have like a sand ruby, so imagine.
But yeah, the rudest place that chat's referring to this, but the rudest place that Alt Gauntlet can show up, it is at the Ogopogo altar. That Alt Gauntlet is so rude. It is, so the Alt Gauntlet pulls from random encounters at the area that it's in, roughly. There are a couple that aren't quite like that, like at the Odin throne in Baron Castle, it will pull from the summon monster area encounters. Meanwhile, Pankraz running to the bottom of the moon, checking the ribbon room that has 2 key items, finds a free boss fight. This is the one boss, the free boss left that I actually hadn't thought about. Resets up because I imagine he wants the experience on this. The karate encounter, normally at Baron Inn, it's scripted with Cecil for kind of, honestly, whatever reason. It was scripted so that after karate does a swing and then a kick, a swing and then a kick. After the second kick, when Cecil just has to bop karate upside the head and he says, ouch, and the encounter is done. So this is actually a freebie.
You know, we say freebie, but there are many situations where an ill-placed karate can be quite dangerous. But with that strong, powerful Cecil in your party with tons of HP, it is not an issue.
Oh my god, finally. There's our payoff. There's a Holy Sword, an Excalibur for Cecil, and a Tower Key, which is progression.
Amazing.
Probably going to choose to stay on the moon. But that Cecil is finally fully online.
If you have a pass, you full clear the entire moon, so you never have to set foot on the moon ever again.
Correct. There's a lot of incentive here to stay on this moon. Octomam, hilariously enough, resistant to holy weaponry. Gang will continue to be the star here, likely wearing a Thunderclaw with the amount of damage he's dealing there.
Pankraz has been using the Jank elemental claws very, very cleverly this seed.
Yeah, there's a 5k swing. And so two things about Octomam. He's resistant to holy elemental weaponry because of the sort of dual elemental system in this game, the way it's programmed. He's weak to dark elemental, which is the element of Cecil's weaponry, Dark Knight Cecil's weaponry. That's one thing. And the other, he's scripted to have a lot of speed and then loses speed as the tentacles go down. So not only is Yang dealing a ton of damage here, but Octomam is getting slower and slower and starts at the agility of this normal spot and then only goes down. So Octomam also essentially free at a lot of spots. It's free in quotation marks, right? It's free, but it's really punchy.
Hey, Solaris, we finally found our way underground.
I know, after all this time, an hour and 23 minutes in, we can finally get underground. I'm grateful, personally.
That might be the case if Kian Safe was on, but it's not, thankfully.
It is at least a 9th key item. Again, getting to 10 key items is very useful because of the experience boost you get from it. Twice the experience for the rest of it. Another thing I wanted to mention, again, something chat referenced also, or Restreamer referenced, that Excalibur that was found in that chest location with the classic forge. This is turning the adamant and the legend sword. That normally turns into the Excalibur in the vanilla game. However, with classic forge, Coco just decides to keep it, which, one, rude, but two, the consequence of that, the way it's programmed in a randomizer by board, is that Excalibur is put into the key item pool. So it is a guaranteed item somewhere in the game.
Oh, wow.
How do you feel about vanilla Ogopogo?
I feel refreshed.
Just let the cool waters wash over you, right?
Yeah, the cool water of 2 waves that will reduce your HP to 50%, no matter what.
And the cool, refreshing punches that knock you straight to the ground.
Like Wylum said, it's vanilla, but it tastes bad.
It's the worst vanilla in the game. Well, actually, is it the worst? It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. The Ogopogo altar, there are a lot of bosses that are pretty awful here. The one, I suppose, quote-unquote saving grace is that Ogopogo does not cast any spells. Ogopogo Punch, Ogopogo Wave. This spot has both some of the highest attack power and the highest magic attack power in the game. There are some hilariously rude bosses to fight here. Mago Sisters in particular.
As long as you don't hit Ogopogo with magic, it should be okay in many quotation marks. But you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, Board AI being rather rude here. Porum knocked down, not able to get the Berserk off. The tempo of this fight really needs to be picked up where you have a Berserker going, because the encounter's going so quickly and the punches are so hard. Ogopogo will punch somewhere between 2 and 3 times, then cast a wave. Punch 2 or 3 times, and then cast that double wave. It creates a situation where you have to keep up with both healing and damage output and not dying to the punches. So getting down to Porum and just Cecil here, tempo is being lost, very dangerous, and yeah, it has to reset out of the fight.
At this point, you want a strong start with perhaps a covering Cecil with Blink Up or something of that sort.
Yeah, if that Porum hadn't gotten knocked down at that point, Berserk would have gone off, and Berserk able to essentially automatically act in the Q system for you, able to attack every time it's available. And every time a character is swinging, the ATB ticks aren't being, they're not counting. So it essentially it just gives you more breathing room to do actions, because otherwise, as you're kind of cycling through the menu, you're losing ticks, and losing ticks means the boss gets to do more punches and more waves. xPankraz going to battle speed 3 makes a lot of sense. You cannot run buffer at this location. Run buffering being where if you run and get the text that says cannot run, the ATB system is frozen at that point. But the way this game is coded, at certain boss locations that are very high level on the moon, I think this is a consequence of, I want to say it's intended to make it harder to run away from certain encounters. And actually I could be wrong here. I see xPankraz running. But there are some spots on the moon where the can't run dialogue takes a lot longer to bring up, making run buffering very difficult.
And there's the cover command going out and the blinks, and there we go. Trying to set up for the long run in this fight.
Yeah, very smartly shifting strategies here, not trying the same thing that he did before. Like you said, Alchemy, setting up with those blinks, with that cover immediately. Gonna Zerk the Yang so that Cecil can continue to cover. Zerk Cecil cannot cover. Once all the blinks are up, may also Zerk that Cecil. Eykir here in the meanwhile continuing to get the bad news about what is on the seed. Finally is at the location that will get him access to at least continued progression.
And you know, you've done the entire planet pretty much. So you see this and you're so happy, but at the same time you're like, oof, that moon looking rough.
Yeah, not only that moon looking rough, but I think from Eykir's perspective, I haven't really seen any encounters that he particularly struggled on. He may look at the time that it is and feel behind from that perspective, but I think Eykir is in a rather dangerous position here. He doesn't know it, but he's rather behind. We need to see Eykir head to the top of the moon and find progression there very quickly, or we need to see xPankraz stumble. That early game really did not pay out for Eykir. xPankraz able to get through the hook encounter the hook route at around the 35-minute mark. Eykir about 15 to 20 minutes behind at that point, continuing to be behind as well now.
But you know, Jiggle fine. Ruby can't keep a hammer hiding a twin harp, for example. So you don't know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the twin harp could have, the twin harp could have like the earth crystal into. I'm not sure that there is a single chain left, given the key items we have, would become hard required. I guess actually, yeah, the twin harp could have the twin harp, and the twin harp could have the adamant. So xPankraz would have to eventually go to the top of the moon and find that if it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Only finds a Zeus Gauntlet at the Ogopogo altar. Is going to keep it. It's good experience, and Zeus Gauntlet, very useful. It's 1 or 2 additional attack multipliers, which essentially is just more damage for this team.
We take
those. But not progression.
Where's progression? Who forgot to put the key items in the set?
It could all be behind that tower key as well. There could be the grossest chain where it's like tower key into earth crystal into rat tail into twin harp.
Yep, something along those lines for sure. xPankraz going up the moon, lunar subterranean to check out the crystal sword altar, if I believe correctly.
Yep, this is another spot that's one of the punchiest in the game. The magic attack power here is pathetic. It's normally Wyvern's spot, and the Mega Nuke is meant to be survivable here with enough levels and hit points. But we've already seen Wyvern, so it can't be that.
Oh
It
boy.
sure could be a Dark Knight Cecil, though.
Oof. That hits hard and that hits fast. But you know, Jang has the big HP pools, and he keeps carrying the seat on his big back. Sheesh.
Yang continuing to be the just megastar of this seed. 3,800 hit points, just kind of laughs at Dark Knight Cecil at, I think, pretty much any location at this point.
Without Jang, this would have been a wipe, pretty much. Oh my
Just
god.
a charm rod for his trouble. Chat kind of putting out the the rudest scenario into the ether. We could, in theory, we could have demist and our objective and Rubicant both on the giant. That would be something.
With Demis hiding, like, I don't know, playing harp or something. Could be.
So far, the moon only paying out with an Xcal and the tower key, though. Xcal, let's not understate. The Xcal is a very good reward, accelerating many of the fights up to this point. The Xcal being the second strongest weapon in the game. To really put it into perspective, the defense sword is Kane's best weapon, essentially. It's arguable that the white spear is better. Not arguable. The white spear is better for him, I think, at like the mid 60 point, just because of the accuracy in the white spear, but those weapons are pathetic compared to the Xcal. Like, really pathetic. The Xcal is just really busted.
We're not even talking about the crystal sword, so Cecil just has access to the best weaponry and armor of the entire game. While Eykir is doing some much needed grinding, Pankraz finds Asura, which I don't think he will have any issues with at this point.
Yeah, Ashura is more annoying than anything for this team. You do kind of wish you had some sort of mage slaying gear, but I think the best that Pankraz could have with this party is the Mute Dagger, and the Mute Dagger, even with quad damage, might actually not be better than the Excalibur. Not even bothering to equip it, if he even had it.
The weapon stat difference is just too high. Asura doing a favor to Pankraz and punching Tela out. Which, you know, fair enough. Thank you. Very nice lady. But we don't want any other nasty punchy surprises, so we get the blinks up.
Yeah, Ashura being a rather particular encounter. She does not actually fight your team naturally. She will just sit there and cycle through Life 1, Cure 4, and Cure 3. The vanilla way of dealing with her is what we're doing right now. It's to cast a wall onto her so she reflects those spells back onto your party, and then she counters everything with a punch, essentially.
As expected, having no issues and being rewarded with an Earth Crystal. Finally.
So that's another piece of progression, but now you have a decision to make. Do you go to Zot or do you go to the tower key? I do imagine he'll do K value first.
I mean, you got a full clear the moon.
Yep, gonna full clear the moon, gonna take on some more King Ryu's, probably just finish off his grind. Could get Nuke onto Palom, which is Flare in future translations. Very powerful spell. Might also just be looking to get Cure 4 on Porum if she doesn't have it already. Porum's spell progression late game is pretty rough.
More importantly, the Earth Crystal was our 10th key item, which is why Pankraz is now popping some sirens to fight some more golden dragons. Big EXP.
Yep, great to point that out. 180,000 with With the life glitch essentially being if you cast life on a dying enemy for reasons, the enemy is sort of revived and then dies immediately again because it revives at 0 hit points. It just counts as an extra encounter. So with the life glitch, you're able to kill. With this encounter, it's roughly 3 per fight.
Eykir going to challenge the process of the Lawrence subterranean, following quickly on Pankraz's footsteps. It seemed that he was quite behind, but little by little, Eykir has been catching up since.
Yeah, fading the Fey March essentially for Eykir, really saving him some time, but he still has to get through the entire bottom of the moon.
For sure.
It is a rather tall order. He will have to get the tower key and dip, or maybe get that earth crystal and dip.
This is definitely Pankraz's race to lose. We'll see if that happens.
Also, I love the chat going on, I love the conversation going on in chat right now. We do have the Supersmith flag on in our most recent major update to this randomizer. Supersmith being where, again, with that forge, with the adamant and the legend sword, normally you get an Excalibur. With classic forge, you get actually nothing. With Supersmith and not classic forge, you get a random GBA weapon, either completely random, or if you have the Sea Hero flag, which is a new flag set that makes your first character the hero, which has major implications. The character will always get experience. They can't be removed from your party. They can't perma-die if that flag is on. And they'll get one of their GBA weapons from the GBA version of this game. They're almost all very powerful. Some of them are not. Cecil in particular has a couple that are... one of them is strong against slimes, which not very useful. Another is the Caliburn, also called the Excalibur. The Excalibur having, I think, just 1 attack on it. Not very... Also could get the Lightbringer. The Lightbringer is nuts. Kind of like Puexel said earlier, if you think the Excalibur is ridiculous, the Lightbringer is just on another level of gross. It is the Crystal Sword, but even better.
Pankraz finding Plague at Cave Behemoth, which is very nice to find, especially when you have a really squishy Tela that you can plop to the ground and then raise again to reset the counter. Because if Plague sees someone that doesn't have counter, he will get very angry and will cast count on the entire party all over again. Or you can just like bob Plague until it goes down and not worry about it. Power overwhelming is a valid strategy. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Power overwhelming indeed. Pankraz continuing to prove to me that there are more free bosses to fight. Plague is essentially free because while count is annoying, and if you don't deal the damage fast enough in that kind of scenario, you could actually lose the fight. Also, Plague is very frustrating early game because you don't have a lot of damage often, but he doesn't actually hit your party at all. So in most spots, it ends up being a free fight. Gets a rat tail for his trouble. There are 3 chains available from this moon. This moon really does have it all. Has all the goods. Either the rat tail, the tower key, or the earth crystal all could lead to progression, ending in an adamant, a legend sword, or a twin harp. And the twin harp could lead into a Rubicant, which is the one boss that we're still looking for here.
Or Rubicant could be the giant.
Rubicant could absolutely be on the giant. Now, hopefully, between all these key items available, hopefully the forge is available. It is 3 key items out of all of these chains that do need to be found for us to not have to deal with Rubicant at all. Just a Moonveil from the Rat Tail. Moonveil is good, but I don't think Pankraz cares about it at this point.
A little too late for a Moonveil.
Yeah, Moonveil is a very powerful item. It is a Star Veil that casts Wall, but it also casts a permanent Blink, essentially. I don't think it's exactly Blink, but it makes your that user evade all physical attacks for the rest of the fight. Which I think it's done by setting the physical defense up to maximum.
It basically makes you untouchable and turns physical fights completely free. But alas, it's too late for that. I don't think we have any bosses left that could prove to be an issue at this point with a fully decked out Sizzle.
The actually most amusing use of that Moon Veil that Pankraz has at the moment, probably won't do this, but if you reflect a Moon Veil onto Zeromus, you will make Zeromus immune to physical attacks, and that's a very cheeky way to finish that fight out with reflect strats if you don't want to physically punch the boss anymore. Because with that fight, with the HP refill that happens, there's a way with reflex strats with spells to sort of shortcut half of Zeromus's health.
So the thing is, Zeromus' HP pool is so incredibly huge that they couldn't fit it into SNES programming. So they added a counter that just brings up about halfway through its HP that just refills it. But by using reflected spells, that doesn't break the counter. So you kinda defeat Zeromus very quickly. And oh wow, my oh my. What a place to see this.
Well, there's that alt gauntlet. Pretty annoying. It's free. It's essentially free. It's not going to challenge this team at all, but it does take time. And if Zot doesn't have any reward to speak of, it would be a really big time sink. Could help catch up Eykir at this point.
I have seen this exact alt gauntlet early into Seed without a mage, and let me tell you, it's rough.
Oh yeah, early on, this particular alt gauntlet features both the EP girls and the jellies. The jellies almost immune to physical attacks, and I believe the EP girls do not take a lot of damage from magic. Can be kind of rude, surprisingly rude.
This will be one of those strange spots where having a Drain Spear or Drain Sword is actually a very good thing. Imagine. Meanwhile, Eykir is taking down boss after boss after boss with no issue, trying to make up for lost time.
Yeah, with the Excal fully in hand for Eykir as well, the rest of these encounters are not going to be very challenging. It's really just about trying to make up time, but unfortunately, we know that Eykir has to go through the rest of these moon encounters. Is making ground, and it's not like, I want to make this clear, it's not like Eykir has done anything bad or wrong this seed. It's just the early game really slowed down for him. Going through those trap chests early, making sure that he was able to take on the hook route, maybe spike a good piece of gear, was just not able to do it quite as quickly as Pankraz did.
Well, it was mostly, from what I could tell while I was tracking, it was the choice, the decision to save money on hourglasses, while Pankraz took the money and spent it on the hourglasses to speed up the fights.
Well, there's our ninja. A little
late.
Yeah, a bit too little too late. I don't think would take him. Nope.
It would be nice if that earth crystal was, somewhere accessible. But alas.
Yeah, at the very end of it, just a mom bomb for your trouble. Won't be up for very long. I doubt it will even split into mini bombs. Normally this encounter, it sort of explodes into 6 bombs, and let me tell you, if you find this on the hook route, you'll be very unhappy, but later on in the game, the extra 9,000 hit points that this encounter gets is, yeah, it just dies to a nuke.
Eykir being caught unprepared by Dark Knight Sizzle, but manages to recover and even gets the raise of Paron to get the full EXP, which is a great move.
Still no Rubicant though, hiding somewhere in this seed, but not at the places we've seen so far. We'll see what Zot has for us as a key item.
A package.
Oh, it's a package.
Be hiding behind that.
That is incredibly unkind. Do you check that package? It could have a Rubicant. It's so unlikely. Well, not that it's so unlikely. It's a long check to make. xPankraz not interested at the moment. Gonna head to the super cannon room.
Personally, I will only check that package if I have done Forge or Cave Magnus, and at that point I'm basically like face checking bosses.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very like last location kind of place. It will be on the back of his mind though, like, is that Rubicant there? But I mean, it could also still all be on the giant. That is becoming more and more possible. I'm not going to say likely. I'm not going to wish that into the ether just yet. Not just yet.
I mean, we can afford to be nice to our racers, don't you think? Close to 2 hours into this obscene scene.
Or we could just wish the rudest thing possible, like not a Rubicant.
Oh boy. Rubicant plus the mist at the giant keeps being more and more likely.
Yeah, you know, the giant thing. I have personal empathy for required giants. I've had a couple of those in my races so far. One hard required, one it wasn't hard required, but there was value at the giant. On this flag set, the giant, it's funny. The giant normally is a great grind option because of the D-Machine encounter that you can manipulate into there, used to great effect on the vanilla speedrun, but we've enabled the vanilla giant flag, which says you cannot leave the giant without going through a 65k HP encounter at the element spot. And the hardest hitting physically and magically spot in the game at the CPU behind it makes it very, very unpopular.
So, you know, it's possible you can just pop the machines in the giant and get your grind in one single fight. But you are going to have to do those two very hard boss fights that are like right at the end game. They're not easy at all. But you know,
small sigh of relief.
Yeah,
xPankraz has found a legend sword.
Phew. So going for the package. Oh boy.
Yeah. So it's funny. Finding a key item, very relevant, especially, well, not at the end of the earth crystal chain. That essentially had nothing, but
so yeah.
Well, not nothing. Sorry, not nothing. It had the package. The package could have something, but we're out of progression now. This is a last, kind of like you were saying, Alchemy, like, I don't really want to go to the package unless I have to, and I think we're at the point where, like, okay, I have to.
This is perhaps Pankraz being like, I do not want to go to the giant. Please. Please help me. I do not want to place a single foot inside that giant. Please let this be either Demis or Rubicant.
Yeah, best case scenario is that it has the Twin Harp and the Twin Harp has the Adamant. That would take the giant out of play entirely. And to answer our question in chat, the rat tail, it had a moon veil.
Eykir getting his party rock, as we like to call it in the community, to access to not only 2 characters, 1 key item check, but also the treasury, which we will not be seeing in this seed due to how incredibly late we got this crystal, sadly.
All right, for all the marbles, is this our Demist? Is this our Rubicant?
And
Nope. Giant it is. You ready?
oof. I am so sorry. This sucks.
I'm not. You know what? I said I had empathy. Never mind. I'm not sorry at all. This is amazing.
Wow.
Now, thankfully for us, we know Sky in the Eye knowledge that Pankraz is well ahead, but he might be feeling, well, he might be feeling bad about Zot particularly, but otherwise, I guess you know that you're kind of funneled into this giant. Unless your opponent makes a Galaxy Brain play to go to the giant, this is a very last location place.
I mean, trying to like meta and trying to get into the brain of your opponent. If your opponent has done giant first, or like a Galaxy Brain play of doing giant very early, you will probably be like, there's a Dawn there or not? Because if there's a Dawn, it's giant. But since I don't see any Dawns in the chat, I don't think, it's very likely that they went giant at this point.
Yeah, the good thing here for Pankraz is that there's really no incentive to go to the giant early. There's no character that we're looking for. There is a boss to hunt down, but I mean, the moon from the numbers play is a lot more tempting. And again, Eykir, I'm really not sure if Eykir knows quite how far behind he is, so isn't really taking a lot of risks. This is kind of going through the numbers, going through all of the moon, and now going through the key items that he's found. And the Earth Crystal kind of has the most value. It has the 2 bosses in it and the key item. But there it is. There is our 65,000 hit point demist at the element spot on the giant. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry.
This is quite honestly one of the worst spots to see demist in. Not because it's dangerous, quite the opposite, but because it's so incredibly annoying to deal with. It takes so long because demist has a phase of the fight where it turns completely unhittable for quite a while. This also means that if you can survive 3 punches from demist, you're good. You can pick your party back up and you heal up and it's no issue. But it will take like not twice as long, but way longer than just a normal fight for sure.
Yeah, the spot, Demist at the spot, it's not dangerous. The problem is that it's very slow, just like you said. The finding a way to optimize damage here can be rather tricky. There is a way to berserk against Demist if you have a silver staff or a stack of unicorns that can clear out the berserk. But Pankraz making clever use of the twin magic here. The twin is an interesting Twin has interesting uses because normally it's very strong in the early game and then you kind of forget about it for the rest of the game, but it's a way to turn Porum's turn into damage essentially, and pushing out every last little bit of damage that you can against this is really going to accelerate the fight. Over 65,000 hit points. I mean, it could be the difference between a couple of these Demus cycles, which will save a not insignificant amount of time.
We have seen such close races in this tournament so far that, you take every second you can to avoid a tie or something of the sort. We have seen very close finishes, so if you can, use a turn to get some damaging instead of, in quotations, wasting it, you take those. So, taking an early giant in this flag set is a very risky move. It's not very statistically probable that you will find what you're looking for, because it's only 2 bosses and a character chain. So you rarely see giant in this flag set, aside from, well, big gambles. So this is a rarity into itself. It being super ultra required, no matter what, is even more of a rarity.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've seen the giant play early in a couple of matches on brackets, and they have been make or break in both ways for those runs because it's just such a huge gamble. And oh, yep, here's the Rubicant. Rubicant at this spot is surprisingly rude. It does so much damage. You do not want to physically swing against this unless you know it's going to die in just a couple of hits. The magic at this spot, glares are going to do quad 9s, and the fire 2 counters to fight the fight command does a ton of damage. Yeah, Palom goes down.
Hey, good thing we have a giant with power and an Ice Claw, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yang, again, throughout this entire seed has been the star, and Ice Claw and a Power Punch does not care about what Rubicant does at all. If you do not physically fight this boss, he can only down 1, maybe 2 party members at a time. But it does take that knowledge. It can take the wrong runner completely off guard. But xPankraz getting through that encounter gets his 4th objective finally complete. We'll see who this character is. Unless it's Fusoya, we won't care about them. I'm not even sure we'll care about a Fusoya at this point, to be honest.
I mean, maybe you drop the Porom, perhaps? I don't know.
Too little too late for Rosa.
Yeah.
We love this white mage, but, you know, it's just no slingshot available. We've got a crap ton of experience on this team. We've got giant experience on this team. That's not something we normally see. This team is overpowered for the end game now. Rosa at best would be an anchor, and we really don't need that.
Ceramos is going to have a very bad time.
xPankraz parking the Lunar Whale at Troya.
Wow, look at that parking. Those skills.
I think xPankraz is thinking he has the Twin Harp, but he still needs to turn in that D-Mist. Okay, yeah, turns back around. You know what? It's been a long day. It's been a long race. We're almost 2 hours in. Nobody has done. This is the part where your nerves start to either pick up or it's just been so long that it just...
Listen, I thought xPankraz had the Twin Harp. It's not even lit up in the tracker, and I'm looking at the tracker screen, and I thought he had it. So listen, I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been one heck of a ride tonight, folks. Let's see what D-Mist has, though. There's the music. We know that it had to be there. And then the Twin Harp has to have the Adamant. We've already seen the Spoon. This is essentially a 17 out of 17 seed. We have seen literally everything, including the package boss. We've gone through the hook routes. We've seen those bosses. We've seen it all.
Got everything this seed had to offer, folks. I mean, if you're asserting excellent, you might want to open every treasure chest, but we don't do that here.
Yeah, opening every treasure chest, that's something I've seen folks talk about as like a personal challenge that they'll take on to do a seed and try to open every single treasure chest. There are a few that are pretty surprisingly well hidden. The one I think is most hidden is Coco's shop, where if you go in, when you're going to turn in Forge, when you go upstairs, instead of heading out, you head immediately, I think, right into, weirdly enough, a hidden passageway that isn't lit up. Most of them are, but this one isn't, and there's kind of like a treasure chest hiding back there.
So I've heard that the reason Coco keeps the Excalibur is that he's sick of people stealing from his shop.
Yeah, people love to loot that bookshelf of his after you turn in. It's just something, I don't know, it's become a bit of a meme. People, runners love to take that one particular item. I've personally gotten 0 GP a number of times out of there. I like to think that that's Coco just leaving a little note that just says, haha, sucker.
But enough is enough. He's keeping the Excalibur this time, folks. Too bad.
I will say the one saving grace of the Twin Harp having to have progression into the Adamant here is that we'll be able to get music. I think one of the best parts of this randomizer is the music we've randomized. Normally, Edward plays a tune to make the Dark Elf weak to... I think it turns off the ability to paralyze the party members through like the magnetic situation. But instead, we've randomized a bunch of songs. Many of them are amazing, most by Calm Lamity, a couple others by other community members by Xenocat. And I'm going to stop talking and let y'all listen to some wonderful rocking tunes.
Well, Python tried to keep the music going as long as possible by exploding the hands, but even that could not hold back Pancras and his beefy party.
Hi again. Bye again.
And there's the Adamant, 17 out of 17, technically, since we have seen the spoon.
Yep, that's 17 out of 17. That's the crystal. We have the pass in hand. With the Twin Harp being last, we're dropped off right at Troya, so this is right about the time to start putting out those Z flags.
So you know, Ceremus is the final boss. His script is too massive. His big bangs are something to fear. We can't put him anywhere else in the seed. So he remains at the final boss. But there's something we can do because this is a randomizer. We can change what he looks like.
Yeah, we have, I believe, 527 sprites now in that sprite pool. It is an incredible number. Many of them, they seem to range between very cute, very terrifying, or very funny. The vast majority of them done by our wonderful Scala Kitty. A good number of them, though, also done by Boardface, who is also the developer of this game. So we thank both of them for these wonderful Z sprites and this game in general. But Alchemy, we have an important question. Would you like to ask it?
Thank you very much. The big important question is, whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
Is it cute? I'm hoping for cute.
Is it scary? Something scary might be cool. Does it have a butt? What's important? Meanwhile, in the other screen, Eykir is going through the framework bosses, looking for that progression, looking for the Twin Harp, like Sword Adamant. Sadly, we know like he's not going to find much.
Yeah, unfortunately for Eykir, it makes a lot of sense. You've kind of gotten a lot of whammies out of the moon checks. Probably thinking that fading this was the wrong play, but he's about to get the bad news out of this, that the progression continues to be elsewhere. But meanwhile, we have a classic. This is Tysomus. Tyson from... Wow, the name is escaping me.
Punch Out.
The NES game.
Super not the Super Nintendo.
Punch Out.
Just a regular Nintendo.
Yeah, Mike Tyson's Punch Out. That's it. We got there.
LaliHo graphics developer informing us that it was one of the original 80 C sprites, which is pretty neat.
And normally this is about the part where I would talk about like Z strategy and what could go wrong, but that's a 22 HP Porum. We almost never see this. I can't even think of a scenario that could trouble this team at this point. It would have to be a big bang into rocks, and like Pankraz just didn't bother to heal his team from the first big bang or something.
Yeah, there is a point where you have so much HP and so many stats, and your recruitment is so good because you've done the entire seed, that Zeramus kind of becomes a non-issue even if he is the final boss.
Normally you want a really good anchoring situation at this boss fight, so if you're not familiar, this game, all of the ATB system, the actions that you take in this game, is sort of rubber banded around one character's agility stat, kind of determines the speed of every other character and the boss encounter. Essentially, a slower character will slow down fast characters, and Zeramus is a very fast boss, but we're even at the hit point levels, though Tella is very slow, so we do have a good anchoring situation here, but there's a certain point where your hit point total just doesn't care.
Eykir going to follow into Pankraz's footsteps very closely still, but Pankraz will need to wipe up multiple times at this point, sadly, for Eykir to catch up.
Yeah, Eykir's fate is as good as sealed here, unfortunately. Though this is a best of 3, there will be another match between these two tomorrow, I believe. I'll confirm that in our outro, but even with Eykir's almost assured loss at this point, there's still another game to play. Yep, there's the rocks. Zeramus is about to go down here.
I'm shocked we even saw the rocks, honestly. There it is.
There we go. GG's to Pankraz with an official race bot time of 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 6 seconds. And we'll see if we can get Pankraz here for an interview.
What a save.
I think the seed was the real winner here tonight. And we are joined now by Pankraz. GG's, Pankraz.
Hey, GG's, thank you very much. I've been informed that the refund machine is broke, but I would still like that, please.
Yes. Tell us how you felt about that seed in general.
At which point?
Um,
The emotions just kind of kept swaying back and forth, kind of like a metronome. It was, it was a trip.
okay, let's go to the end, near the end first. You have the tower key, the rat tail, and the earth crystal. What's going through your mind at that point, when the moon is just finished?
I know that there's nothing left on Earth. I just have to chase these 3 items. I start with the rat tails. It's nice and easy. Maybe it gives me a half a forge. Maybe it gives me the twin harp. I know that, there's only so many bosses left in the game, and I'm hoping for something at that point. When that's nothing, I shrug and I go to Earth Crystal first, try to get the ruby, see if I can find the Demus, see if I can find a half a forge, see if I can find literally anything that will give me progression. And it does not.
So, did you feel like behind at any point in the set? Because we were theorizing like, oh, maybe Pankraz will feel behind with like the garbage, the Kiarim situation at some point. So were you?
I felt behind, or that I was being very slow at like 2 points. One is the hook route. Even though I had like a really comfortable 35-minute time, I full cleared Eblan Castle. I misremembered, I thought it was a Lunar Sparkle instead of Dark Elf in my head. So I'm like, okay, I need some sort of weapon. I need some levels on Yang in case there's something gross. No, it's just Dark Elf. You can weaken. Once I resaw that, I had one of those oh crap moments. As well as, after I looted all of Eblan and I didn't get even like an Ogre Axe for Cecil. That didn't feel great. And then the second point was after doing the Fey March, knowing that Val has to have my progression to the moon at like the hour 15 mark. Not getting to the moon until that point made me start sweating a bit.
Makes sense, makes sense.
So now you are up 1 game against Eykir. You do have to do a best of 3 here. In your next match, how are you feeling about that? How does it, being up a game, is it going to change how you approach that matchup at all? Or kind of tell us what you're thinking about there.
Not really. I'm just gonna keep playing my game, keep playing, doing what I do well. Even though a lot of the stuff I did in this seed didn't pay out, I feel like they were solid decisions. Like with the information that I had, with the knowledge that I had, with the tools that I had. So I think, despite the time of 2 hours and 9 minutes, I think I played well, and I hope that I can continue. If I play well, or as well tomorrow, I should be in a good shape.
Yeah, I agree. I think you executed the heck out of this seed. The one turning point I will say for your race against Eykir, you both actually went to Castle Eblin to look for some additional power spike, but you bought the hourglasses early, and that just kind of accelerated your fights through those, even though it was most of your money to do so. So that was really nice to see that. Kind of worked out in your favor.
18,000 gold for 3 chances at good loot. I mean, that's a pretty alright trade in my book. And I knew that I'd be able to get enough money to finance gold dragons later on in the seed. Like, Eblin was the one-stop shop for both of them. And with, like, Dwarf Castle money, the money from the Eblin trap chests themselves, Keyless Tower, Top of Tower, a whole bunch of other little checks that maybe I could go on, I should have had enough money to grind at the end of the seed while being able to still invest in those hourglasses for the early game.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's about it for me. Alchemy, did you have any other questions?
Any final thoughts on the? Well, you know what? I have one thing to say. I hope the next seed for you two is nicer than this. Fingers crossed.
I hope so too. It felt really bad going to the moon with Mute Knife as my Cecil weapon. But at least the first check got me the XCal, and I can't ask for better than that, really.
So, any final thoughts, Pankraz?
Not really. That the seed was impolite, and I'm sure that, like, I felt it firsthand. Eykir's feeling it firsthand. GG's to him for sticking it out, for going through it. It was unpleasant, to say the least. And who do we have to thank for the unpleasantness? Our great restreamer, Neobari. Thank you for the seed, and thanks to both of you, Alchemy and Solaris, for the commentary and for the tracking. I believe Demarine was on commentary, so shout out to her as well. Shame that, it's a shame that, I think internet problems, ?
Yeah, she had emergency to deal with, but everything's all good here. We opened up the seed, and then I got to hang out with Alchemy for the kind of last half of this. Definitely not, but definitely unkind seed.
I had
so it was a good time.
Front row seats for this kind of nastiness, which was nice in a way.
Yeah, this is always the kind of seed that you want to see as like a viewer or as part of the restream team, kind of, but you don't ever want to play it. You get the hard required music, you get to see everything in the seed, and the runners are struggling throughout the whole thing. I hope that it was enjoying for all of you out there watching, and for all of you who will be watching in the future.
I suppose you could describe it as that, yes, in some way.
That's one way to describe it. Another way is rude, impolite, and a couple other words. In either case, thank you all so much for the restream. Thank you all for putting on the show, and have a fantastic rest of the evening.
Yeah, thanks so much, Pankraz, and GG's again.
You too, Pankraz, GG's.
Thank you.
I think we should frame this Cesarius, but put it on the wall.
I'm sure that these runners would like to put this seed far, far, far behind them, the very back of their memory. Eykir finally getting through at the giant, realizing there's just nothing else to do this seed except see it all. Gets through that demist. Interesting enough, Eykir will find out that Rubicant is here. We'll find out the demist has the twin harp. That's the progression for him. Unfortunately, it just Pankraz is able to outspeed his opponent throughout this. Pankraz, again, kind of like we alluded to at the very open of this, both of these runners are very strong. Pankraz, outside of tournament play, has shown a great level of prowess and growing skill in both execution and routing, in my opinion. And but this is, I think, his first tournament where he may really get a great moment to kind of see that through towards, maybe the top 8, maybe the finals. I mean, who knows what could happen here? Anything really can happen, but this was a very strong showing from Pankraz from start to finish. So hoped to see good things from him for sure. And from Eykir as well. Eykir, one of our members that has been around for quite a while. This could be his tournament, This seed turned out to not be super nice to him, but there's still one more match for him to do. Things could go very well for him. That second match could turn it into a real, third match showdown, and it could be his tournament to shine as well.
Anything is possible at this point in the tournament, for sure.
Including D-Mist on the Giant.
What if Giant is required to all 3 races? That would be incredible. Let's hope. I mean, I'm going to hope not, but
I would request so many refunds. There would not be enough refunds for me to request if I were one of those runners.
Absolutely. Hey, Shala, I said that I didn't want it. That's all. Come on. Eykir going to chase that D-Mist. And we'll find that it is music. Which, it's very nice. Welcome to Corneria. We will get a wonderful, wonderful repeat of some wonderful tunes from the pool of Edward Harp randomized songs. And there is nothing left in the seed than to see through to every check. Eykir does a little check, like, oh yeah, we got it. Getting ready to ride his massive moonwell ship all the way to Troya. Now is when the strike comes in. I will still personally frame this seed, put it on the wall, even if I know that the runners would rather shred it instead. Like Gambit said in chat, our tracker one less reprise of Harp to send us home. I know it's been said already, but big shoutouts to the restream team for putting everything together, to the restreamer Neobari, especially shoutouts for Gambit for stepping in on tracking when I had to step up for commentary. It's a little late, but I didn't mind. Of course, shoutouts to community member Solares for putting on an amazing show of commentary, showing great knowledge. And shoutouts to Demering, who sadly had to step back due to issues. We love you, Demering.
And shout out to my co-commentator Alchemy. I'm very happy to have gotten the chance to hang out with you here tonight, even under the somewhat unfortunate circumstances. Yep, we love Demarine. Hopefully, things. I'm sure things are going okay there. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me here. It's been quite a seed. It's really what it's been. It's been quite a time.
A journey. I will describe it as a journey.
It's been a journey of life, of love, of laughter. No, it's just been a D-Mist. We're a hard required D-Misted giant. That's what it's been. But in the meanwhile, yes, okay. My brain was like, are we before or after music? In the meanwhile, we're going to get that music reprised, so I let y'all listen to that.
Even after Kala's heroic bonk, which missed Baigon's body entirely, Baigon could not resist.
And I get to make the joke again that actually chat made right before I could do it, which is hi again, bye again.
That one never gets old.
No, it really doesn't. But thinking about a game 2 for Eykir, something about this flag set that I find very interesting is that given that you cannot sell items for any money and that you get a random, it's the grab bag kit, you get some number of randomly tier 1 through 8 items. Sometimes it's all junk, sometimes it's like a heroin robe.
Sores, hold on a second. Oh dear. I think Eykir doesn't have the crystal. Oh my. Or does it?
That depends if Eykir has turned in... Did he not grab the key item from Twin Harp?
It's possible. He did not grab the key item.
Oh no, yeah, so he'll get into this fight and realize he doesn't have the crystal, and then he'll just have to reset out of it.
Oh man.
That is, it feels bad. I mean, at least thankfully, if Eykir watches the race room, he'll know that he lost at this point.
Yeah, you know, but it's like... I mean, it makes sense you're tired. It's been 2 hours and 25 minutes. This seat has been absolutely brutal.
It's been a long seed. I just can't fault this at all. We saw Pankraz when he went to go. He almost went towards the Twin Harp. He got all the way to the Chocobo Forest before realizing he didn't even pick up the Twin Harp. I mean, the seed has just had that effect on these runners.
And these runners are like top tier, like competition fair enterprise racers, and that happened to them. Like, it just happens.
That's right. We're at the top 32. These are some of the best runners that we have to offer, for sure. And a long seed like this, it's just anything could happen. Yep, Eykir checking his tracker. Gonna realize that the Twin Harp wasn't turned in. Gonna go take care of that real quick before heading into Z. It is absolutely a rite of passage to forget the crystal. I've definitely done it myself. Other things that I've forgotten, I have forgotten that I've gone to the pass room without thinking I had the pass without actually having had it. Trying to think of other things that I've forgotten. I'm forgetting the things that I've forgotten. That's how forgetful I am.
That's deep. Wow.
There are truly a number of things. I mean, we get to have a tracker. There's no auto tracking for this, but you know, we get to have a tracker in front of us where we can at least mark the key items we get. But
Well, you know,
there's a lot of information you have to hold in your head for an hour and a half, or in Eykir's case, 2 hours and 26 minutes. It's
I was watching community member Invulnerable play some free enterprise, and he just like wrote everything down with a pencil, and it was like, you know what? That seems good.
Yeah, there are a few things I like to write down personally myself. I'll write down who the Baron boss, the Baigon boss was at the open of the game. And I'll write down the King and Queen boss spots. And there are a couple item shops I'll write down also. One of our trackers can do that also itself. It is Big Dunka's tracker, I believe. Has a lot of options in it, including a full item tracker. If you're interested in that. I like to just write it down because there's only a couple shops that I want to write down. But these are things like if I don't write them down, they're just gone. They're just deleted from my brain. They don't exist.
we get to have a reprieve of the Ramos fight, and once again, this party is decked out. These levels are very high, and these HP values are off the charts. I doubt we will see any issues.
Yeah, Eykir's got giant experience here. This Z fight will be no problem. It's a foregone conclusion. Going back, though, to what I was saying about Game 2, the very interesting thing about this flag set for me is that with the random grab bag kit that you get and the random starting amount of money on top of the characters that you get, and the different situations a seed can put you in, there's a lot of variance. In my personal experience, there's a lot of variance on this flag set for what can happen. So this match probably was in Pankraz's advantage, just for being able to kind of utilize his expertise to kind of get through a lot of things quickly. So it wasn't like one specific thing. Yes, there were the hourglasses that saved him quite a bit of time, but it was all the overworld stuff even before that that led to a 15-minute advantage just getting through the hook route. But that kind of advantage could completely disappear the next seed if it puts forth a completely different kind of seed for them. Maybe it's a jet seed, and maybe Eykir will be advantaged in that situation. I mean, I don't really know personally, but what I'm trying to say here is that it's not over yet. It is over for Eykir this race, but there is another race in this best of 3, and really anything can happen still.
And absolutely, we will start to see like get like 70k guild like right off the bat, which will change not only the options you have, but also mentally. It makes you rethink the way you approach the entire set.
Yeah, honestly, I'm finding in my experience that the starting money is actually not that big of a deal. It's kind of a luxury. If you start with 20,000, it just means you're not really buying much, but as you go through the game, you do accumulate money, and you'll get enough to at least buy coffins and hourglasses and sirens, and those are really the important things to buy. What I like about starting with 50 or 70,000 gold is that you can just shop immediately. You know, if you find like a black belt in shop, that's a very strong piece of gear to just buy immediately. Or even like a poison axe, an elven bow, a mute knife. There are a good number of items that you can just shop for early, and you know, spend that money, don't hoard it.
I mean,
You really want to accelerate your early game.
we saw what happened in this awful set where Cecil had like no weapons, and perhaps there was some like some weapon shop somewhere, but you don't have money. You are going to want to spend money on useful items. The equipment, that's a luxury with this one we have. So it's definitely a big difference in some point, but as the set goes forward, it stops being as important.
Yeah, to reference Demarine earlier, she was saying wishing for an ice brand. An ice brand not being a very good weapon for Z, but at that point of the game, it's easily available and it's rather cheap to buy, or better yet, to just find it in a chest.
As I always say, you haven't lived until you've brought an ice brand Cecil to Zeromus.
Yep, I've brought an ice brand Cecil to Zeromus. I've brought like mute dagger medium katana to Zeromus. It's not very good. Yang with actually no equipment at all.
Listen,
All you need is enough damage to get through the fight, though, and enough health or magic to kind of survive the big bangs.
levels fix everything.
Yeah, it's true. Levels do fix everything.
Time is also a resource, but you know, levels do fix everything.
Yeah. I do want to take one more moment to make sure I shout out our restream team while Eykir is getting through the C fight. We have Neobari on restream. We have Alchemy, who double duty tracking and on comms with me tonight. Demarine originally was on comms, had to leave for an emergency. We love you, Demarine. And make sure you give all these folks a follow. We also have our runners Eykir and Pankraz. And we also want to thank RPG Limit Break for hosting us here tonight. Oh, and actually, one more spiel. If you're interested in doing what we do the talking, do the tracking, or do the restreaming yourself, if you go to ff4fe.com, join our Discord. There is a link in the guides and resources channel, I believe that's what it's called, to join the restream team. It's just a form you'll fill out. It's very easy, and we're very helpful for getting you set up for any of those jobs. You'd probably start with tracking, but all you really need is a little bit of knowledge of the game for the key items. You don't need to be a runner of this game. And Eykir, there's the flash. GG's to Eykir, finishing with a time of 2 hours, 32 minutes, and 54 seconds. And we're joined by Eykir now. GG's, Eykir.
Jeez, that was a seed.
That sure was a seed.
Yeah, tell us, just just the seed overall. Tell us how you feel about this one.
I was telling Pankraz, and we were chatting afterwards, that these are the seeds that you hope for as a viewer, and I've hoped for them many times, so it's about time that I got cursed with having to run one of those.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely fun to watch, but yeah, I don't envy you at all for having to run it. Main question I want to ask is about early game. Before going down the hook route, tell us what was on your mind about kind of how you were, like, you saw the Dark Elf there, you saw the character, it was a duplicate. What was on your mind about how you were going to handle that encounter?
Dark Elf can be rough. I just needed some plan with some Berserk Yang and let him go, and maybe find something for Cecil that could help out, because we kept finding duplicate characters, so it's going to be a 4-man team going down there. So that's why I went to the castle and did the 3 chests there and the 2 fights, and fortunately found that light sword, which really helps early game, or well, I guess mid game, because at that point it's like 45 minutes in. So that was planned, and then once I got underground, just see if I can find a 5th character and do what I can. Like Gomez killing me early kind of hurt. But, yeah, that's how it went.
Yeah, the seed certainly had a couple curveballs and really just a lot of no progression. But
go
ahead.
There's like besides the hook, there was 1 item I think in the overworld. The pan. We got the pan.
The pan, right?
Thing
Yeah.
I did when I went underground, and it really led to nothing.
This whole city was a bunch of nothing if you think about it.
Yeah, it was really not really any good weapons. I mean, no cat claws for Yang. At least we had one of each elemental claws, so that was good. But we were joking, like, I guess what we were going to start with, and I said we're going to start with poison claw because it's not elemental, and we did.
You were right.
I guess a charm.
Jan was absolutely the unsung hero of this entire set.
Yeah, definitely. The only other question I want to ask, you're now 0-1 up against Pankraz. How does that change your mindset, or does it, about how you approach the next match?
Well, I knew I was not the favorite coming into this because Pankraz is really good, and we actually had a ladder race a week ago when we were practicing. He beat me that one by like 7 minutes or 8 minutes. So he's beaten me in like all the acings we've done. So I know he's good. I really thought about going to the Giant earlier because I thought he's not done yet. I have to make a play, so but Tower Key, so I went underground instead. Instead of the Tower, gone to the Giants. I might have only lost by 3 or 4 minutes. So I may take a few more risks next time, depending on what kind of seed it is. This one it was really hard to because it was pretty linear up until you get Belvalis and the Darkest Crystal. So I'm just going to try my best and see what the seed takes me next time.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense to me. That's about all for me, though, Alchemy. Did you have any other questions for Eykir?
Nope. Just great work for you, like, sticking with it and getting through it. That was very nice to watch. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. I'm sure everyone enjoyed me picking up the crystal in the Twin Harp room. I won't forget that again.
Hey, it's a learning experience.
It is.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, GG's again, Eykir. Good luck on your next one, and you have a good night.
GG's. Thank you, everybody, for the broadcast team for all all their service. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Take care. So we're going to be wrapping soon, and you can stick around in RPG Limit Break for the next round of the Final Fantasy Randomizer Spring Tournament 2021. GC Nader vs Wild of Carrick Zero that starts at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Yep, well, that was quite a barn burner, wasn't it? Yep, definitely make sure you stick around for that. I do want to shout out very quickly before we go. There's lots of races, just today in general and tomorrow. There were 3 at our time slot, including ours. There is Eisen versus Apex Corvid that may be still going on over on Randomania. I'm not sure which Randomania channel. And then Peasants OMFG versus Xenocat. That is on our flagship channel, Free Enterprise. That is coming up starting very shortly as well. But yeah, otherwise, thank you, Scala, pointing out Randomania 3 for Eisen versus Apex Corvid. So lots of good racing today, lots of good racing coming up tomorrow and through the weekend as well. But, you know, otherwise, this has been quite a long one. I had a good time, Alchemy.
I had a great time too.
Yeah, I'm ready to unwind for sure.
I had a great time, but I'm so ready as well.
But yeah, definitely cheer on the FF1 randomizer coming up and stick around for that. It'll be a great race. Anyways, but till then, I'm Solaris and have a wonderful night.
Take care, everyone.